Even though they just said it.
Done.
Just like
I'll just let you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 5:31. We'll call the Committee of Whole meeting to order. We are going to start with roll call. And we'll start with Alderwoman Malone Marshall, Alderman Prude, Alderman Osinga, present. Alderman Crawford, present. Alderman O'Brien, here. Alderman Barron, here. We have Alderwoman Lewis, Alderman Navarez, here. Alderman Marzak, present. Alderwoman Swanson, Alderman Cobbs, Alderwoman Johnson, Alderman Jones, present. Alderman Brown, here. Okay. Next, we're going to have public comments. If you'd like to come forward and speak on behalf of the ARP committee, you can come up to the microphone.
Good evening. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm a little rushed, but my name is Dr. Applewhite, and I work with the Hippocrates Medical Clinic. We recently submitted a proposal for COVID funding for the clinic, and that proposal was submitted in May of this year, which was pretty well delineated regarding funding for what we do. I hope you have the document regarding the Hippocrates Medical Center. I'll try to make this brief. The most important thing about the clinic here in Kankakee is that, it takes care of and manages uninsured or underinsured patients here in the county and in Kankakee City. The clinic has been in existence since 2016, has continued to serve this population with minimal to no support. Basically support coming from local vendors, volunteer individuals like myself who support the clinic, and other organizations here. The clinic, for the most part, sees about 98% Hispanic population here in Kankakee and Kankakee County. I'm going to briefly go to the first page and just talk about some of the numbers that are important in terms of the volume of patients that we've been seeing in the county. The clinic now, again, is located on Court Street. Recently had resided at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in the basement, and as of 2016 moved to the new location. In 2017, the clinic saw about 1,114 patients. And as you can see in the graph below it, which is, it's not color-coded, but it is coded, you can see sort of the progression of the clinic from 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. So from its inception, in particular from 2018, the very top box talks about the appointment schedule. The one below it are those that were kept. Initially, there were 620 patients in 2018 that scheduled appointments, and 461 maintained those appointments, about 70%. 2019, there was nearly 100% increase in patients, 1,244 scheduled, and 1,000 maintained appointments. Of course, 2020, during the COVID pandemic, the clinic was shut down. Weren't able to see clients in that regard, so that created a significant problem in that regard. There were still some patients scheduled within the first quarter, so that's where you see the 211 and the 176. 2021, as you come further down, you start to see the clinic reopen, and we started seeing more patients at 265 and 188. Again, that's more than 70% patients that maintained appointments, that scheduled appointments. If we go to the very next page, we talk about some of the issues that COVID has done and how it has impacted the people in this particular community, in particular that very large Hispanic population. And it also talks about some of the vendors which we have been able to work directly with, in particular the Department of Public Health, Pledge for Life, Harbor House, Media, Governor State, the Aunt Martha's Welcoming Center. We also have a Hispanic Welcoming Center here also in the community that we work with, the Lions Club for hearing assessment and testing, the Dwayne Dean Substance Abuse Facility, Catholic Charities, to name a few. And I'll let you can go through and read the list of individuals that we've been working with. And in particular, University of Illinois, which provides laboratory services for the community. So when we order labs, the patients pay for labs directly, but we're able to provide that on-site service, which has been very helpful. Now, I'm not going to go through all of my list of credentials I have here, but I do a lot of different things in the community. I've been here about 15 years providing wound care, vascular work, sonography, etc. And I volunteer my time and have been doing that for the past 3 years at the Hippocrates Medical Center. And again, we've been able to do that with minimal to no support, only donations from the clients. So if we go to the very next sheet, it talks about the patient demographics. The important thing about that, it gives you this number of 526. The important thing it talks about is that of the patients we saw, 70% of the patients that were served were from Kankakee City, which was very important, even though we serve people from all around the county. And it's kind of broken down in terms of different areas, Aroma Park, Bourbonnais, Bradley, Kankakee, Mantino, etc. Now, what are some of the services that we're able to provide there? Obstetric services, pediatric services, workforce training, health insurance, documency, literacy, interpretation services, family services. There's some other things that aren't listed here, but is in the proposal that I sent you guys in May, which is a very detailed, delineated proposal that hopefully you'll get a chance to go over, which basically breaks down what we're attempting to do. And A little bit more information here. One is that we can do COVID testing and COVID vaccinations on site and as needed. We recently did the flu vaccination about 3 to 4 weeks ago. Very large turnout at the center. Pediatric medical services there with the nurse practitioners that we have. In addition to economic support, which we're trying to provide for individuals who have been affected directly by the COVID pandemic. Housing support, voter registration. One thing we're trying to do now is partner with the school district, which is a new project that we've just started, because of our large number of Hispanic patients within the Kankakee City and Kankakee County. And I recently found out that there's about 30+% patients of Hispanic origin who are in the Kankakee School District. So having this particular clinic allows them to come and receive treatment for a lot of different things, not just medical. Some are definitely literacy training, after-school programs. I was recently talking with someone today about allowing someone to go to the school to do mental health evaluations, again, through some of these things we're putting together. These are real projects that are really working, that are really going to help people. And in this particular time, this is what's required to move things forward. But the most important thing is that we've been providing this at this particular community center free of charge with no support. Everyone that works there is volunteer. All of the administrative staff, myself, the nurse practitioners, the RNs, et cetera. And it's been working very well. Now, we put together, and this is the very last thing I'll mention here, because I really want you to pay attention to the document that was prepared back in May. I had spoken with the mayor at that time. The discussion at that point was to prepare a document with a proposal regarding what we could do. How do we define this process? So the concern is that if there's going to be monies allocated for a COVID relief, et cetera, how do we put this together? So I put together a proposal based upon the number I thought. That number was based upon what I thought your allocation would be if this, and I'm not sure if this number is true, but if the city received, say, 14 or 15 million for COVID relief. My thought process was to come up with a number that I thought would be reasonable for the clinic. But more importantly, the number that I put together was about 5.6, about 6% of the total ask. Now, of course, those numbers are in here. You can take a really good look at that. It kind of breaks down everything exactly as how it should be, and so where the money would be spent and how it can be spent in terms of our full administrative staff, whether it be upkeep for the building, whether it could be community services, things that you need here in the county that could be provided there. So there's a lot of wraparound services that that facility can provide. We would need to know exactly what you would need from the city, because there are days when we're going to be doing direct medical care, and other days we can do more community services, the outreach, the after-school programs, the tutoring, the voter registration, the literacy documentation, the helping individuals pay their rent, mortgage relief, things like that that you would know about and would be able to help us develop that program. So again, the number that we put there, which was 6% of the total amount that we assume was 14 million or so, but the most important thing was to provide something for the county and the community that's not being funded. And we think at some point we can probably put this together and do it right so that it can be sustained and continue to grow. But by the grace of God, the clinic has been standing for the past 5 years because of volunteers. And because of the pandemic, there may be some relief to move this thing forward. Please take a look at that request. I welcome any and all suggestions in terms of things you may want to add to the clinic as it continues to grow. But the goal is for the clinic to not only be a place for individuals of Hispanic origin to come, but for others also in the county. So please take a look at it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Applewhite.
Any questions?
Hello, thank you. Have you guys talked to or gone and gave a pitch or anything to the county also?
We have. I was listening in on the meeting, and there was some money that they say they would allocate but would not give us a number. We know that there have been denominations that have been released and has been in print, so we were aware of that, so that was part of our discussion. So we couldn't get an actual idea of that. My biggest concern in that regard is the services that we're providing for the entire county, not necessarily just Kankakee. And that, again, I think we have an opportunity, I think, to really capture a large population here for a lot of different reasons, in particular for data gathering, for growth, and for community services. But we did have the conversation, but we didn't get a complete answer other than, yes, there may be some monies, but the amount was not clear. But we did have a discussion regarding the denominations that were released in print, and how did that determination, come about.
Thank you.
Was that 6% of the 14 million, did I hear that correctly?
Exactly.
Dr. Applewhite, on this page here, from 2019 to 2020, that big drop there, you said that's COVID related?
Absolutely. Yeah, so that was completely, to be quite honest, and that was in that first quarter. Had we been able to continue, we probably would have been on the same trajectory. The individuals who helped us to put the clinic together, some of these people are here now, but they really had the network in the community to fill the pulse, and that's why we're able to get so many patients in here. The problem I'm having directly is that, this is something I'll just mention briefly, when we send patients who have language barriers just to get a prescription filled, it is a problem. I can write 10 scripts, but I'm almost positive if 2 of those scripts are written for individuals who have some sort of language barrier, there's going to be some sort of concern with that script. And that's where that access to care becomes an issue, and the social determinants of health becoming a problem. Because we don't always have individuals there who can communicate and understand the concern. I don't speak Spanish fluently, but in the clinic we have someone there voluntarily, and we're able to function very well.
Thank you. And the drop-off there, would you envision future demand would be similar to 2019?
I think it would be more, to be quite honest, because the current situation with the school district, they're serious about sending students there. They have them coming now. Now they've captured a lot because, they told me it's 30% of their volume. And they've got 4,500 students in the Kankakee school district. Now, but at 30% being Hispanic, that's a very large amount. We're trying to create a scenario where they can come either for medical care for sure, but also after-school programs, which is what they want to set up. And that's something that we're developing. I've talked several times with the superintendent and her staff, and they've made it pretty clear what they want to do. And I think they've recognized an opportunity to capture and treat these patients because students are going home and they've had this large gap of time where they're doing the sort of module, sort of teleteaching, which is not really working. So they get back to school, they can't function, they're not cooperating, and they come to the clinic for medical reasons. And you find out, well, they're behind the schoolwork for 3 months. So they're stressed out, having headaches, uncooperative. So they're seeing a different subset of things that we would normally see. So that's the whole premise between us and the school, and it's moving forward as we speak.
I have a few other questions. Is it okay if we follow up after? the
Sure.
meeting or at a different time?
However you'd like to do it.
I'll reach out to your.
Yeah, so I have Dondi here, and I have Stefani, and these two work in the clinic with us. And what I will do is make sure you have my contact information for sure, and be more than happy to address any questions. Okay, thank you.
One thing before you leave, I want to apologize because I supposed to have been there probably 2 weeks ago. The schedule I got thrown off, so I apologize.
Well, glad you're here now. Thank you.
For the council, I believe the proposal that Dr. Applewhite was talking about was included in the first book that we handed out to everybody, but we'll get that to everybody going forward. You'll see down on new business, this kind of relates into talking about allocation for public services and not-for-profits and what we want to allocate for the community, and then I think we would be, at that point, depending how we act on that, then we could act to the public on individual organizations and agencies going forward. So, is there any other public comment at this time? Okay. You have in front of you the approval of the minutes from September 27th, 2021. David did email those out a couple hours to you. I apologize for the delay. We were just kind of getting them together. They are in your packet now for review along with an email. If you're comfortable, we can approve these tonight, or if you'd like to wait for further review to the next meeting, up to you. So.
I make the motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, Mayor.
So we have a motion from Alderman Osinga to approve the minutes from September 27th. We have a second from Alderman Jones. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Alderman Osinga?
Aye.
Alderman Crawford?
Abstain, I wasn't at the meeting.
Alderman O'Brien?
Aye.
Alderman Barron. Alderman Brown. Alderman Jones. Alderman Navarez. Alderman Marzak.
Aye.
Okay. We have 8 ayes, 2 abstentions. Minutes are passed. Okay. Next, we have a presentation from Proven IT for camera system. Chief Passwater, if you just want to introduce our guest, and I'll get out of the way.
Yeah, this is Proven IT. Tom's going to, he's from Proven IT. It's a technology company that does a lot with cameras and copiers and everything. And we had talked about cameras throughout the city. Alderman Brown and Mayor Curtis, we went north and looked at another system. And this here's a different system, a different company. And I thought I'd just kind of let them introduce themselves and kind of show you what this kind of camera system that we're kind of trying to do and kind of give you some rough estimate of the cost of it. So, if you guys want to introduce, yep, yeah, right here. I don't know if you guys would connect to this one here. Yep.
Okay, cool. If you don't mind me crouching, maybe.
I can get a chair for you.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Did you try to do it for like that? Okay.
I think you might need to leave those on, Chief, for the video.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. It's like, hold on.
Oh, I see what it's doing. Okay. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. While Manuel is getting this set up, I can somewhat reiterate what Chief has alluded to. My name's Tom Bazan with Proven IT. We've had conversations with Chief and Mayor regarding a camera solution, and it's been going on a couple months now, so we were asked to present the solution, give an overview of its capabilities, what it can possibly do for the city. There's a lot more ins and outs to this solution, but we want to cover the most important factors of it. So I'm going to hand it over to Manuel, and he's just going to walk through. If there's any questions at the end, we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, perfect. My name's Manny. I'm here from Verkada. And just to give you an idea of Verkada and who we are, we're the fastest growing physical security company in the world, right? So we have clients all over the world, and we also have clients right here in your back door. So we're working with the Kankakee School District at the moment. We are working with the City of Princeton, and we are working with the Village of Oswego and a couple others in the area, right? So our main goal is essentially to create a physical security infrastructure for the entire community that's easy to use, that's scalable, and is ready for the most advanced AI applications possible. So, give me 1 second. Thank you. All right, perfect. So what we're looking at right now is our command platform, right? So this is a cloud-based platform. So you can access this from any browser, any device, including our iOS and Android apps, right? So first and foremost, what we're looking at right now are all of the cameras that we have deployed in our headquarters in San Mateo, right? So right now I can see kind of a clean dashboard, a clean overview of essentially all of the cameras, all of our exterior cameras, all of our first floor cameras, second floor cameras, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, under one clean dashboard right here, right? And then from there, I can go here to this map view, and I can see a clean layout of all of the cameras that we have, well, in our case, deployed at our facility, but in your case, deployed across the entire city, right? So first and foremost, what you're gonna notice is that all of the cameras are highlighted green. What that means is that they're live, healthy, and they're recording. If any of them were to go down or go offline, this screen right here the camera would be yellow, you'd get a text message notification about it, and then from there, you can go ahead and contact one of our support engineers who can typically fix 9 out of 10 problems remotely in a couple minutes. If we can't fix a problem remotely, we're gonna send you a brand new camera, no questions asked, with our 10-year hardware warranty. So we're covering you over the next 10 years with your camera infrastructure. From there, we can go ahead and dive into the cameras themselves. So let's take a look at this entrance right here for Verkada's headquarters. And what we're looking at right now is a live camera feed of that front entrance for Verkada, right? So it's 3:52 in Pacific time, and if I scroll down, I can see video footage of the last 30 days, right? So our cameras are recording 24/7 constantly, up to 30 to 365 days worth of footage. And you can break it up into 24-hour, 4-hour, 1-hour clips, however granular and minute you want to get, right? So what you're going to notice is that with traditional camera systems, you have to manually fast forward and rewind to find any sort of footage, right? With this, all you're going to do is hover over this specific frame and see how events went down within that specific time frame, right? So what you're going to notice is that every single person and vehicle that shows up within this frame is going to have a green bounding box around them. That's extremely important for some of the facial analytics, vehicle analytics, and some of the other ease of use features that we have. So pay attention to that. Keep that in mind, right? So one thing that you're probably going to hear from, I'm sure from Chief Passwater, I've heard this from a ton of different police districts, a ton of different school districts, etc., is that typically with video security, it's really hard to maintain these systems. You have to scroll through hours of footage, and it's hard to find specifically what you need, and it takes time out of everybody's day, essentially. So let me show you how we made and simplified the entire process for you guys, right? So let's say, for example, there was a vandalism incident. Someone vandalized one of the government buildings nearby, and you don't want to scroll through 12 hours worth of footage to find a 5-second clip. What you can do is you can go ahead and highlight the specific frame that you're interested in right here. And what the system's going to do is it's going to go ahead and pull up any time there was any motion within that frame, right? Obviously, we want to be specific. We don't care if a squirrel tripped off that motion sensor. So we can go ahead and filter by people or vehicles specifically. I filtered by people. And now what the system did is it went ahead and pulled up footage of any human-based motion specifically within the last 30 days, right? So all you have to do is pull up that video clip. You can go ahead and see what happened right here. And then from there, as the video starts to play, you can go ahead and utilize our digital zoom feature to get a better view of the individuals right here, right? From there, you can go ahead and loop in multiple cameras. Let's say that that one camera got the back of someone's head but didn't really give you the best view possible. So this gives you multiple ways to really paint the picture of what's going on and how this incident occurred, right? So from there, once you figured out specifically what happened, and this is what the clip that you want to share with the rest of the team, you can go ahead and archive this clip and then share it with the rest of your organization. Good news is that you have unlimited amount of footage that you can store and save into the cloud, so you never have to worry about upgrading your storage or anything like that in the future, right? And once you archive a clip, it lives right here in the archive tab, right? So for example, I can go right here, and then I can go ahead and play this video footage right here. This is a video that I saved earlier today. What you're gonna notice is that in the top left, it's watermarked. So that proves that this video hasn't been tampered with and makes it court admissible. And if you need to share this with anybody else in your legal team, all you do is click on that share link button right there, and you can share it via text message or email. And if you can designate how long this link lasts so that whoever you send it to doesn't necessarily have access to that footage indefinitely if you don't want them to, right? So from there, let's say you're working with an eyewitness report, right? On that same notion about a vandalism incident. Somebody mentioned that somebody wearing a blue shirt was walking around the facility late at night, might have been suspicious, and maybe you want to check that out, right? So you can actually filter by that description specifically, right? So let's say they were wearing a blue shirt and they appeared to be male. Now what the system went ahead and did is it went ahead and pulled up any time there's any footage of any person matching that description, right? And this includes today, this includes yesterday, any footage over the last 30 days, right? So from there, you can go ahead and click into here. You can see specifically who this may be that matches this, description, and maybe if this is the suspect, again, you can go ahead and utilize our digital zoom feature here to see who it is, and then you can archive this clip and share it with the rest of your team. From there, let's say you know exactly who you're looking for, right? Let's say whether it's a criminal that has a warrant or it's somebody in the community that's in trouble that may need help. Let's say it's a child that's been missing for 24 hours, or it's an elderly person that's gone missing from the nursing home or something like that, right? What you can do is you can go to search all cameras, and then you can go ahead and upload a photo of that individual that you're looking for, right? From there, the system's going to go ahead and pull up any time this person has shown up across any of the cameras in the entire city. And that's one of the great things about Verkada, is that this is an ecosystem of cameras that are all communicating with each other. It's not individual cameras that are operating individually. They're all working together to really paint the picture in the entire city. So from there, like before, I can see where this person has been over the last 30 days across any camera in the entire city and really get insight into what's going on anywhere in the city, right? From there, obviously if this person's in trouble, we want to be notified the next time they're picked up by any camera in the city, right? So I can go ahead and let's go ahead and list them as missing person, something like that. I can create a profile, and then I can go ahead and mark them as a person of interest. So the next time this person shows up anywhere across the city, you're going to get a text message or email notification about that immediately. And traditionally with camera systems, they help you with reactive investigations. But the way we really start to separate ourselves from the rest of the entire industry is we help you be proactive in situations. This helps save lives before the fact, before they're ever in danger, before the situation gets out of hand. And on that same note of being proactive, let's say there's an ongoing situation that's occurring, right? Let's say that, God forbid, there's an active shooter situation or something like that going on at a facility. First responders are already on the way, but you want to make sure that they're in the loop as much as possible as the situation is unfolding. So what you can do is you can go here to the share link button, and then you can share this live camera feed directly to first responders or whoever needs to be kept in the loop, whoever that may be, via text message or email. And just like before, you can designate how long they have access to this link. And from there, it's really as simple as adding their phone number and texting it to them. So again, this helps you be reactive and proactive in situations. So everything that I've shown you so far helps with people analytics, but as you guys are I'm sure aware, a lot of crimes occur in vehicles, or you're only working based off of a vehicle description, right? So we actually have a ton of vehicle analytics as well. So just like before, let's say you're working with a hit and run incident or something like that. What you can do is work off of the eyewitness description. Let's say that you know it was a white car that was involved in the hit and run. Now the camera system went ahead and pulled up any car that matches that specific description right there. And then from here, we can go ahead and pull up whatever camera feed or camera footage that we need right here, right? And then once it starts to play, we can go ahead and utilize the multi-camera view to get multiple camera angles, or we can go ahead and utilize the digital zoom to zoom in on that license plate and get a crystal clear picture of who the suspect may be and what car it may be. But that's not the only way that we help with license plate recognition. So we actually have AI that helps with that as well, right? So we have a camera that's situated at an intersection right next to our office that in real time is capturing the license plate of every single car that drives by, including the camera footage associated with it, right? So you can see down to the last couple minutes, last couple hours, last couple days, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it really gives you a ton of insight into what's going on at all of your intersections, and then from there, just like before, you can designate this as a license plate of interest. so that any time that any of these vehicles are detected by any of the cameras anywhere in the city, you guys or chief or anybody in the PD will get a text message notification about it immediately. So it's about being proactive in situations, and all of these analytics and all of these features help you with that. Go ahead.
I've seen those license plates down there on the left. The camera that picks those up, how far are those cameras from the vehicles that it's picking up, distance-wise?
So typically we have them situated on, like when we're working with the city of Princeton, it's typically about 30 to 60 feet. It really depends. We have different camera models that can accommodate anywhere from 20 feet to around 100 feet.
How about the night view on the license plate?
The night view, we utilize IR, so it's totally fine in night. Yeah, so that's a high-level overview of what Bricata is capable of. Obviously, there's a lot more that it's capable of, but I want to be respectful of your time. But with that said, do you guys have any questions about anything that I've gone over so far?
Just want to make one comment is, as Chief Passport said, myself, Alderman Brown, a few others have gone up and seen a presentation before. We just thought this was a good time that we could let most of the council members see how some of these systems work and allow you to ask some questions tonight.
So just give it an estimate. So run maybe 2 cameras at an intersection, or 3 cameras covering the whole intersection. What's the cost? Give me a rough estimate of the cost. Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit per location, just some idea on that. How your guys' system works with the 10-year plan and all that.
Yeah, no problem. So our costs and the cameras, it all depends on what camera you want, how many days retention, 30 to 365 days, and what type of licensing you guys would like. So you get 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year licensing. Every camera you get with the system comes with a 10-year warranty. So when we talked to Chief Passwater and went a little bit on pricing, the best camera with 4 and 8K zoom license plate recognition with a 10-year warranty and a 10-year license runs about $3,000 a camera. So that's the highest you'll ever go. And if you wanted to work and manipulate the licensing, or you might not need the highest resolution camera, the price would only go down from there.
And one thing I'd like to mention is that every one of our cameras has a 10-year hardware warranty. So over the next 10 years, if any camera goes down, we'd send you a brand new one for free. And on top of that, over the next 10 years, any new features or software updates we come out with, we're automatically going to push it onto the cameras. So there's no on-prem maintenance or anything like that, and you're future-proofing your system over the next 10 years. So for example, some of our clients that bought a bunch of Bricata cameras in 2017, one day in 2019 woke up to their cameras being capable of license plate recognition. And they didn't even have to do anything, they didn't have to upgrade anything, they just woke up with that feature automatically put onto their system. So that's another huge value prop for a lot of the cities that I've been working with recently.
I was just kind of curious on the intersection, what would you need, 2 to 3?
So that's still a scope that we really need to dive deep in. I believe, Tom, when you were looking at everything on the map, there was about 50 intersections that we were looking at. And if you have 2 cameras going this way on one, and then the next intersection over, they're going that way, we feel like we can grid the whole area. But if you needed 3 or 4 at an intersection, if it's a busier one and you know that's one you need, each intersection can be built customly. So the busier intersections might need more than 2, and the non-busier ones could get away with absolutely 2.
And the price that you just said there was roughly for the best camera?
The best camera, the best warranty, the best license was about $3,000 a camera.
So you could cover really, if you wanted 2 cameras per intersection, $6,000 an intersection for 10 years out.
10 years out.
And then it's all cloud-based, right?
Correct.
So this requires connection to the cloud and requires a cell connection per camera. So there's obviously a monthly fee, but
so there, again, it's customizable. There's options. We can put what's called cradle points at each intersection, which would bring cellular feed in there, and that's a monthly fee. Or if the city has fiber or any way that you can run Cat 5, Cat 6 cable to it, as long as there's power and Ethernet, there's no maintenance fee with that.
Which we do have on some. So we just, obviously, we want to bring you guys here to show you what the capabilities are, kind of rough estimate of the cost of what it costs to do.
Yeah. Oh, yes, sir.
How many cameras are we looking at, or how many do we need to do the city right? I mean, the last thing I want to do is get into this and only have 2 or 3 intersections, and we're not.
Well, I had talked to these guys, that I would think you'd probably do it in a couple of stages. Try to cover, maybe 25 locations first, and then see how that works. And if that's all working correctly, then the following year you can go up and say, we want to cover these more, we don't need them anymore. But start on different stages, that way you don't, you're just buying more cameras every year, the rest of them. So I might get to show you kind of big look at the intersections, but I think they're talking maybe $6,000 an intersection. Right. So intersection is $60,000.
That's total cost on that, 6,000 versus our other cameras that we just bought at $3,000 a year, correct?
Yeah, this is
Correct.
$6,000 per intersection, but that doesn't cover the fee for the cell service. Obviously, that's more, but you got to store it somewhere, whether it's on the server here or on the cell. So.
And like we were saying, each intersection is customizable. So high end, say you have 50 intersections and you wanted a camera facing each way at 4, your max per intersection would then be 12,000, right? Is that right, Matt? 3 times 4? So that's the worst case scenario with 10 years of updates, patching, and anything new. A year ago, Verkada didn't have the facial recognition to be uploaded onto it. And like Manuel said, people woke up and next thing you know, they had it. Yes, sir.
Can these cameras, once they're installed, can they be moved from one location to another? We decide, we're going to do this intersection, we go, maybe we don't need it after, time allows. Can these be moved, or do you have to leave them there and put up another camera?
No, actually, when, besides from municipalities, schools, if we just did a school that knows in 3 years they're building a new school. So the glory of the camera is as long as there's Ethernet connection to it, you can take it, it's called rip and replace. So like if the camera breaks ever, they overnight you one, it's just pull one off, put it on. So as long as there's Ethernet running and power, each camera can be moved wherever you want.
Is that something our people do, or do you people come down and do that?
As far as if a camera breaks and gets replaced?
Yeah, or moving it, when you initially install it.
Yeah.
Do that, and then they need to be moved. Would our DPW guys do it, or would you guys do that?
That's actually up to the city. Go ahead, sir.
We probably have Kyle or Eric from ESU, the electricians. They probably would handle what I call the small minor stuff or things like that.
What I tell all my clients is Proven IT does have the capability. We are a low voltage cabling company as well. So if you would like us to do any project, we'd be happy to assist. But usually municipalities, schools, everybody has somebody that can do it for them, and it's probably a lot less expensive to do it in-house.
Okay, thank you.
I have a legal question.
Go ahead.
Maybe I heard it wrong, but you can answer. You said that basically if there was a person of interest, you could put that person of interest in your camera, and every time he comes within that area, there would be alert goes off or something goes off. And my question is, have you experienced any legal questions about that? Because one of the biggest things we had years ago was because they were profiling people, and this to me is almost like profiling somebody. So have you received any legal questions or concerns about that type of thing?
So I can answer that. So we actually have a feature that lets you blur out all surrounding people in the area from the frame of interest so that you're only searching somebody that has an active warrant or something like that. So in terms of people's privacies, we built the system with that in mind as well.
So it's only people with warrants or something like that, something that...
Well, people, whoever you guys may search.
We would
but-
have to definitely write some policy on who can do that and who would authorize that and search for that, whatever. I can see that being used occasionally, but I really can't, the vehicle stuff is what we really use, but if we know that, let's say we know the depot, that's been getting tore up by one individual maybe 4 or 5 times, then you can say, okay, if this guy, and he's been told not to return there, then you could maybe set up a system where you can say, okay, if he's on the property and notifies us to come down. So I think you'd really have to have some good policy, and really have to be restricted to administrative level if you wanted to do that. And I think too, that's for distance wise, so it's gotta be pretty close to the camera to work right. Obviously out shooting down the street, maybe we wouldn't be able to shoot city streets with vehicles. I mean, that's our goal. We're better off looking for vehicles because it's easier to find a vehicle than it is an individual person.
I do understand all that, but I'm just saying, there's been a concern about some people in the neighborhood that basically gonna put cameras in places where people already been profiled for, and I'm just trying to make sure that basically not add to the fear. Cameras are good, it should not be a fear thing. It should be a tool that we use in our toolbox in order to solve some of these social problems and criminal problems. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. You want them to know they're there for them, not against them.
Right.
And with that said, all the analytics, you can customize them, so you can turn them on or off as need be, and you can do that on an individual camera basis as well. So if you don't want certain analytics on, totally fine, just turn them off.
And we would probably leave that to you guys to decide too, because you guys also have, through group policies, the ability to give access to certain people. So for this example, we could say only chief can upload a picture. And, obviously he's an elected official and we trust that he's only going to be looking for people that are needed in that situation.
I think the council would have to come up with a very detailed policy and ordinance and implement things that when it can be used and when it can't be used.
I would also mention that the whole start of this project was for the vehicle and license plate. This is just a feature that the camera can do. And like Manuel said, it can be turned off and you need administrative rights to even turn it on.
You have a question, sir?
I agree with what you're saying, Carl, but what's been done in the past, we got to use technology, just like the other day with the shooting over at International. I mean, if we had this technology, those people would already be in jail, and I mean, I'm all for privacy and doing the right thing, but I mean, I can tell you, 2 Wednesdays ago, about 25 inches from my head was a bullet flying past me. And you know what? They got the man on camera, okay? I mean, they got a description, I called it in, that man's in jail. We have to do something significant in our community. And if that means, Big Brother's watching, we got to do that. Because people are dying. I mean, look, 2 people are flown out of our community. We got to do something.
I'm not doubting that. My question is this. I don't want to do something and you go to court or something like that, we throw it out. I agree that works. And I've been on that side, and so is Larry. He's been on that side of the thing too. Our job right now is to help police. Sure. Help problem solve, not to get them to the point where they couldn't act.
Absolutely. You guys got these in other communities, correct?
Correct.
Have they gone to court with cases currently that you know of?
Not.
I'm just, I mean, these are all good questions, but I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We need to see what these other communities that already implemented. If we're looking at a significant amount of money, to put the system in.
Yeah, we can pull up a bunch of different references. Olivet Nazarene, the school district locally has these implemented, and we can look for specific police departments and municipalities for resources and references to put you guys in contact with.
School district, Kankakee School District.
Yep.
Okay, is that high school, you're on high school or?
The whole district.
Yeah.
It's all 111, I believe that, yeah.
Okay. So you're at school in District 111?
We currently, I think it's the elementary school, but we're in works for all the other schools. They're doing a phased approach, just like the chief was interested in as well.
Carl, I'll give you a perfect example. When that person got hit on Fifth and Kennedy Drive, somebody in the Verano hit. And if there was a camera there, you guys would have been able to, see who the Verano was. About a week or two after that, police officers came to my house because I happen to have a Verano. I just kept thinking of how much time that it took to have to go see all the Veranos between 2012 and now. And it's just the amount of time it's taking you guys to do legal work that if you got a description or you got, a license plate, then you guys could, all the time it takes to go do all the legwork, you're a step ahead. So, understand.
I mean, the features itself to me, the features that I like the most is that if you look for something, you're looking at time. You don't have to go and look for a whole bunch of stuff. You go to that time and pull up. That's the features that sell for me. All the other stuff, I mean, just normal stuff. But that's the feature that sells.
We actually have the cameras at a gas station out in Indiana, and their main security guy was on vacation 2 weeks ago, and there was a hit and run, I believe. One of the other guys on my team who helped put in the camera got a text from their security director and said, "Hey, can you find this?" And within 5 minutes, he was able to do that. He was able to scroll, got the actual footage, and sent it over to their security director to send it to the municipality, which they found the person right away.
And I'm all for, I'm at the point now, I'm with Lance a little bit, because, kid that got shot, it's like, I know the young football guy, one of my young guys that I do, and I'm all for, let's find out what's going on. I don't want nobody else to get shot. I'm fed up with it, because, I don't go out and do everything like that, but I believe the person who go out, they need to be able to go out and enjoy themselves, and you don't need to get 50 shots. Running out and we can't find out who it is. If this is going to help you find out who it is, hopefully we don't have that happen.
One thing we put together was, since I've lived in this community all my life, is there's only so many ways out of town, whether it's in Court, 57, or south of 49. I took the first 25 intersections, and what I included was all the routes out of town. Because usually if something happens here, you find out they're from Park Forest or whatever, you catch them getting on Court 57 or trying to get out of town. So with this type of, AI, to be able to search that vehicle, it cuts down on, there's only so many ways out of Kankakee, whether it's east on Florida or Route 50, Vermont, and 50. I included all those, and then kind of the heavily populated area, but it will be up to you and the chief, you guys to determine where the cameras go. But the first scope of work, what we did 25 intersections, hoping to do this in 2 phases, but understanding whatever you guys decide on is open to discussion. So,
And the most expensive camera, that camera, is $3,000.
You need 2 of them.
With a 10-year warranty.
Yeah.
10-year warranty and a 10-year license. That's important.
And the license is very important. And in the storage, you say that there's no storage.
So that comes with 30 days retention. You can archive an infinite amount. So say chief, I don't think he would, but if he wanted to archive every single day for 30 days, there's no additional storage fee. That's an option that's built into the cameras. Ricotta came up with a solution that all they want clients to invest in is the camera and the license. Because what you'll see with a lot of other systems is if a new feature is rolled out, that's an additional proposal, a change order, storage fees, adding users. Ricotta wanted to include that all in their camera itself.
So we're looking at roughly about $150,000.
That's only 25.
Yeah, and that depends. What we initially proposed was just based off a conversation with Chief. This could be a rolled out approach. It could be 3 intersections to start. It could be 20. It's really dependent on.
Yeah, it could be different. We do it in stages, so we can see if it's working or not, Also, you want to do it all at one time because you want to make sure the system works. Like these guys are selling cameras, so we want to make sure they work, see if they're beneficial, and see if the setup is right. We might say, oh, that's not working right. We want to do a different location, or they're just not doing what we thought they would do. So that's why we would go with the stage approach, do so many, and then see how they work, and then if they did, then the following year, figure out different locations and different areas.
Overtime is cheaper than overtime.
Well, listen, I'll be honest, here's the situation we're in. We had 3 people shot at the bar the other night. Not that they were in the bar or anything else, but obviously it's related to that up there, it's in that area. That, right now, the only evidence we're working off of is video. That's it. That's the evidence we're working off is video. So 2 of them, the only reason they're not dead is because they weren't going to get hit in a vital organ, but 2 of them were in very serious condition. So we're working off of video, it's not our own, but it's other video we're trying to operate off, we're trying to get information. And any more of these cases, that basically that's what we do. I mean, I was telling you guys, we don't go look for witnesses anymore. We go to the houses that have video and say, can you see the video and try to get it? Because it's more accurate witnesses, and then it shows up to court when you want to go to court. The video's there. You don't have to go find it. It comes up there, but the problem is it's really time consuming. It's extremely time consuming. You go back on some of these cameras because generally they got the wrong date and time. They haven't moved the time change up. It takes us forever to do it. So we're just looking at a way to reduce this gun violence, and everything that we can do to throw at it, we need to throw at it, because I'll be honest, if we don't do that, that's what's really holding us back, right? We all know that the amount of gun violence we have is holding us back and getting everything done. So if we, the more arrests that we can make, and it only takes a few more arrests to really decrease it, especially like this weekend, we saw it's really down. But we know there's not that many shooters. They do a lot of shooting as individuals. So it could be 15 to 20 people that we're looking at all the time to do that. So, I appreciate you guys coming in and showing us this, and just give them some idea, because we got to see another system. There's obviously a different system, but this one here is what I thought was interesting to do, and have you guys come through. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you. I do want to say it is worth mentioning that, you know, with the updates that they do, in 2019 it didn't have the feature, but because of COVID and everything, Verkada was able to do heat mapping and, you know, control populations in rooms, which could extend to the outside with everything going. But because they have this COVID factor into it, it has become eligible for Relief Act funds. So it is a security system that could be used from the government funds that were given.
I would say one last thing for you, Carl, though, is that everywhere we put these cameras, just put a small sign that says video surveillance, and that covers a lot of the legal issues that you guys would ever face. Because now it's public knowledge that there's a camera right there.
Thank you.
Do you have a last question?
Last question. I prefer a camera on every intersection that we have. Would you be willing to put two intersections together as a test pattern, you know, just so we could test it for 30 days?
Absolutely. As long as there's the right, you know, power, internet, and everything going in, because that's the other aspect of it. But
I mean, Court Schuyler, you know, just had a high speed. I caught it on my camera, you know, but I got to look for it, you know. But something that they could just get their feet wet and test it, you know. I mean, you know, a significant amount of money going to spend. If it does what it says it's going to do, I mean, I'm all for it. But everybody wants a quick solution, including myself. But I'd really like to see it. How about you, Chief?
So, I mean, we're looking at any tools that we can get to do that.
If we get permission from you guys and Chief, we'll work with Chief and find 2 intersections that he feels would be the best for gathering all the information he needs. And Manuel, I can't speak for Verkada, but you guys usually ship out cameras next day, right?
We can work and see what's the most we'll have to work on some locations where we know we could do something that kind of
Intersection location, but, you know, just to kind of, so they can say, you know, hey, there's a redheaded guy in, you know, Court Schuyler. He just went down Washington.
Proof of concept.
Proof of concept. Yep. And, you know, at least see if the license plate readers do what they're supposed to. Other than that, I'm on board.
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that these cameras will interface with other cameras. Like, for example, you have the same system in Bourbonnais or Bradley.
Yep.
You said we already had them with the district, school district 111.
Yep.
Would our cameras interface with them? If we're looking for somebody, and that person, we put that stuff that, we're looking for that person, we would call them this camera. Would it give them an alert?
So the school would have to have the same picture up too. It's kind of like Manuel showed, if you guys send a link or you ask for a link or permission or say, here's the exact picture of who I'm looking for, then you can send it to ONU and Kankakee, and if they choose to, they could put it up there and then it would cross-communicate.
But also, if the school gave administrative rights to chief and the police department, you would have access to that. They could manage that and monitor it, which we've seen police departments and local school districts do. If there's a relationship there and it's the same network, it's essentially a separate tab that shows this is the school district.
Well, I know the county, I mean, they put out some cameras, and I think it's important that we, kind of grid the whole area together.
Right.
So, maybe this would be a good test, even for Bradley and, the county.
We've seen municipalities provide incentives to local businesses to say we'll cover X amount of the cost if you'll allow us to place this camera on there, but we'll be monitoring it as well. So they give the option to the businesses whether they go for it or not, but it allows you more coverage and more areas for the cameras.
Still waiting on you to climb the pole and change the camera.
We got a team for that.
It won't be us. Any questions from you guys on this side? Okay. Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So there is no action that we're taking on this tonight. This is more of a presentation, but I just thought there's a good chance we'd have most of the council members here that could see and take a look at it. I'd say gather your questions, thoughts. Just as Alderman Brown had some thoughts and questions, I think present those, get them to the chief, and we'll try to get answers for you. And if with the school district having it already, it might be good to see what their thoughts are. Have them come in and talk to us and see how their reaction is so far. So with that, you should have a packet in there that was presented to you. You've got a couple things. As of today, David provided you an updated graph from our website where everybody can go on and fill out their information. There's been very little activity, I'd say, over the last 30 days. Most people have filled it out. There's probably been maybe 4 or 5 updates since then. But he also provided, it's hard to talk here. He also provided an update of every inquiry on there for the big thick packet. That's the legal size paper. You can go through there and read that, but that's an update of everything for the web there. If you're looking for the information there. We've got several items that we wanted to put on the agenda tonight to start having some discussion about. As we met, we did not meet in October, but we did meet in September. We talked about, if you remember at that meeting, we did allocate some dollars at that point. Barbie, if you don't mind 30 seconds, I saw you did some job, or asked for some job postings today, correct? Mm-hmm. So if you could just give us a quick update. If you remember, we allocated dollars for the ECDA department, for community navigators and some hiring. And Barbie, I believe, just asked those to be posted today, correct?
Yeah. Mayor gave the green light to move forward. I'm really grateful for that. The grant assistant role, which is mainly operational, is going to be, there's going to be an offer made to an individual this week, and then we're posting for the community navigator positions in Spanish and in English. And my goal is to make sure that we have at least 2 bilingual individuals that we hire through that community navigator program. Those people are really going to be the ones that go out there and get all the applications finished, and also work with the other social service agencies with people who need additional help. So if we've identified, because we go into people's houses every day, I don't know if everybody knows that, so we can see if they need additional help in other areas. So if it's childcare, we're going to reach out through the community navigators to make sure that we get them the other resources, because there's lots of this money with lots of different agencies across the region that we need to also help them get access to those resources. So those jobs will be posted today. It's going to be Just with vacations and holiday too, we probably won't onboard them until next year. But we wanted to get that word out there and start recruiting for those positions. Also, Mayor.
Sounds like a long time away.
I know, and it's not. It's not at all. And the mayor also gave the green light for the grant writing firm RFP, so I'll be working with the city clerk to get that out there and follow all the rules and regs for an RFP that need to get dispersed, which is right on time because I finished for the third time reading the infrastructure bill, and all that money is going to be dispersed in like brand new grant programs and across all federal agencies, and there's so many eligible just items in that infrastructure bill for so many things, technology, operational stuff for government, streets, sidewalks, sewage, water, hydroelectric plants. There's so many billions of dollars in that bill to be going after for grants. So if we have the grant writing firm and we can start going after stuff in the first half of 2022, we will be in a really good position competitively to get those grants because we already have some of the infrastructure here. So I'm really excited because we're going to hit the ground running and really be kicking out a lot of those grant requests for probably projects we haven't talked about yet or projects in the works that we can go after for some large dollar amounts that maybe ECDA could help administer for the other departments. So that's really kind of like the goal that we're going after with that grant writing firm is how do we get money in for all the other departments and their projects and needs. So yeah, that's where we're at.
I appreciate it. As you remember the last meeting, we allocated $500,000 to the ECDA department to get that going. Just so you know, none of the money has been moved out of the account. All we've done at this point is allocated it, but obviously with Barbie's department moving forward and getting that going, I would suspect that at some point we will start transferring some of that money around and reporting that out of the ARP. But at this point, we still have not taken $1 out of the ARP funds. So, but I want to give you an update from the last meeting on there. We got one of the big items, as you know, we've had several presentations in the past, especially early on in June and July. We heard tonight from Hippocrates, and we've also got some proposals from other organizations, including Still I Rise, who I see is here tonight with us, and different things. First, I think what we need to do is we need to allocate a portion of this money for what I would call public service not-for-profits. And then from there, we need to analyze and evaluate each proposal that comes in and what we're going to allocate towards those agencies and for funding. So what I wanted to accomplish tonight, as we could, is what you thought as a group that the committee of the whole would think would be the proper amount to start with for funding. Doesn't mean we can't always come back and do more if we need to in the future. But I know the county set up a program where they allocated a certain amount, and I think they were doing $10,000 per agency. Talking to a lot of the aldermen here, I think we want to keep it more open-ended so that each agency we would allocate based on what we think their needs are, not a fixed amount. Maybe one agency needs $2,000, maybe another agency needs $65,000, maybe another agency needs more. We don't know, but let's just talk about that case by case. But I think before we can do that, we need to allocate a pool of money towards that to start with, and that's my thought. So does anyone have an idea of what that amount should be? Is it $300,000? Is it $500,000? I'm open to any ideas, but that's what I was hoping to accomplish tonight. Alderman Barron.
Mayor, I have one question. Barbie, you might know this off the top of your head. The normal public service program that we have, what is a typical annual allocation from that?
We allocated $20,000 to Fortitude one year. We've done $5,000 to an organization. We encourage the organizations to ask for the moon, really, and they have to break it down financially what they ask for. And then we look at what they can actually perform, what their goals are, the direct impact, because remember, we want all the money to go to be really giving a direct impact and improving the quality of life to the people that they serve. So they'll take a look at that, and sometimes people have asked for $13,000 and got $9,000. This year we had a couple of people ask for $10,000, but we were able to allocate more money to them because they were able to serve more people due to the need being greater from COVID. So really it's a matter about the presentation, and then CAB just makes the allocation request to you guys, and then the the moat really happens with what you guys do here.
What's been, has it been a little over 80,000 though, what you've been dealing with the last couple of years?
So it's always been $20,000, and I bumped it up to $80,000 in 2020, just given COVID, and that is the actual allowed amount for our entitlement dollars. And so putting that money where it was at was going to salaries and operations, and I just pulled that out and made public services at its max, because I think it should be going to people.
How many agencies are we talking, roughly 20?
Oh, gosh. No, we usually get 5 to 6 applications. But the public service program that we operate now is federally regulated, so there's lots of rules and regs. The one that we can do with the bones of what we already operate allows for a lot more flexibility. So we'll be able to they'll be able to ask for allocation for operational expenses, help with some salaries to actually administer the programs that they want to do. And as long as they can prove a direct impact and it's eligible with ARP, then we could give money out to 20, 30, 40 different, just depending on what you guys allocate.
100,000?
You're saying 100? I would think no. I would think more, but I'm open to ideas. Alderman O'Brien?
What about, I think just in terms of a percentage of the total, what about 5%? So that would be roughly $700,000 to start with, that's going to be locked in, but in terms of our total allocation, that seems not, it's not insignificant. That's a significant number, I think. I think the challenge we have is we need about 3 times the total number we have, but the services that these organizations provide are very important. So to me, that seems like a significant number that is appropriate. Just a thought.
And also with that, I agree with you. I was thinking about $1 million, so I do like the 5%. But I think we also, when we're giving this money out, we need to probably cross-reference and see who's going after county money and who's going after the other COVID money that's out there too.
I think the other question too is how, would that be an allocation for the entirety of the program? Would that be 4 years, or would that just be the upcoming year? The memo that Barbie put together, I think there was a number of 1.2 million over 4 years. So 700 might cover a good chunk of that. That's another question.
My thought was we could start with a number, whatever we think that is. If we wake up a year from now and sit there and say, boy, we're really making an impact, we need to make a bigger impact, we can always come back and allocate more. So, any other thoughts? Alderman Marzak?
I just had a conversation with an individual today, but, if we do work with the county, if it provides countywide service, I think we can make that money go double, so as long as we're not giving all everyone here, I'm good with that.
It's not directly related, but I think the other thing we'd have to do, obviously, is make sure that they're, do some due diligence on our part, make sure they're in good standing with the state and have whatever requirements we set. I'm sure other municipalities have done that sort of in a way that we can borrow their process, but I just share that that's important.
Yeah, the tougher part of this will be the easy part tonight. The tougher part will be determining what amount goes to each agency or public service. That'll be the harder part. When you give somebody, I'm picking a number, 32,000 and the other person 18, they're going to ask why. That'll be the harder part we have to deal with.
That's why we paid $840,000.
Yeah. We've had a proposal before us that asked for $1 million, if you remember back probably 90 days ago. So, I think when you hear those numbers, I don't think we're capable of doing that, but we are capable of helping organizations, significantly. So,
And would that be the 700 per, it would be in a year or is it?
I think that's over a 3-year period. We can do whatever you want.
Do a couple, yeah, I mean, let's see what we want to do, and 2 years from now, we might want to throw another $500,000 at it or something. But I think we also need to take care of the city of Kankakee too, because we have a lot of issues.
And we're gonna talk about some of that next too, so.
But that 100,000, that's where I figured we were going to be.
That's what I'm
On
talking
a yearly
about.
basis.
On a yearly basis,
Yeah.
it would be 300 grand, so.
I mean, like Alderman O'Brien mentioned 700, I mean, just round numbers, is 750 the right number? To start with? Is that too high?
I think that, I agree with that. Go for it, take a motion.
Yeah, I like it.
A motion, $750,000 for nonprofits.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Alderman O'Brien to allocate $750,000 to the public servant not-for-profit organizations. We would take that to City Council for full approval. We have a second from Alderman Crawford. Is there any questions or comments? Alderman Osinga.
I do have a comment here. And I guess I'm going to be the devil's advocate a little bit. Public service, non-for-profit organizations, we need to support these people. But I really hope that in the time we have allocated to spend this money, we spend $14 million, and 5 years from now, we're sitting here saying, what do we do with the money? Where did it all go? You know, we have to have some checks and balances here. And if an organization is asking for money, we need to make sure it's being used correctly and that they're not, spending it. And I'm not saying foolishly, but here again, I don't want to spend $14 million and 5 years from now, what do we do? What do we spend it at?
I'm going to defer to Barbie because there are some reporting, correct?
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
And that's part of the whole.
The hard part where her department needs the money that we allocated for.
Yeah, the whole process for this too is the application will have a lot of what you guys have already talked about. Like it'll ask for, have you applied for other funds? Are you working with the county? It'll ask us for all of that in the application. You'll have to, there's a state part of it that has to say that they're in good standing with the state, that they have articles of incorporation. The board of directors of these organizations have to sign a letter that says, as a board, we know that we are applying and going to be responsible for these funds and providing direct impact. And again, there is a public presentation that is required for this program. So when you're asking for money and you put that all in the application, there is a presentation night where they will publicly be presenting what they're asking for, why they're asking for it, and there's a public comment period. So there will be all of that in this process. It'll be very open. And then the Citizens Advisory Board, they are just going to make a suggestion to you based off of the application and the presentation. Here's what we would like to see allocated to that organization. They're just making that suggestion to you. And then you guys can take a look at it and say, we think it should be more, we think it should be less. But you'll be invited to all of each step of the process for the application review and then also the public hearing night so that you can see what they're asking for and what they're proposing. There are some, federal guidelines when it comes to direct impact. If you're going to ask for coverage of construction or maintenance of your building, you need to explain how that's going to provide an impact to the people that you serve. If you need a bus for something, you're going to have to explain why that bus and the expense of the bus is going to improve the community and the quality of life of the residents. So there are some things in there already that will require people to report why they need the things that they're asking for. So, and it'll all be public.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Marzak?
It is quite possible that you could go after some grants as well during this 3-year period, correct?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, that's the whole point of having that grant writing firm is to be able to go after these and have additional dollars for additional things. Also, don't forget, we're going to be reporting every month to you, too. So we'll report how many applications we got in. Here was what their goals are. Here's who they said they've served. So we also will have a duty on the back end because we've got to do the reporting in making sure that they're fulfilling their commitment and their request. So if we allocate some money to them and they're not doing what they said they were going to do, there's a point where you go, you're not going to get the funding because you didn't do what you said you were going to do. So we still have to follow them and monitor them, and their reports of what they said they were going to do with the money is part of our quarterly report that Elizabeth has to send into Treasury as well.
That's where I was going with that, Alderman Osinga, is there's a lot of follow-up that has to be done and a lot of inputting and reporting, so. Okay, so we have a motion from Alderman O'Brien. We have a second for Alderman Crawford to allocate $750,000 for the public service not-for-profit organizations. We'll recommend that to City Council for full approval. Roll call. Alderman Osinga.
Aye.
Alderman Crawford.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Barron.
Aye.
Alderman Brown.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Alderman Navarez.
Aye.
Alderman Marzak.
Aye.
Okay, we will send that to City Council. Next, we have on the item is funding for software, and there's two different ones here. I'm going to let Mr. Tyson talk about the first one, which is sewer services, if you don't mind. Right now with our ESU department, we have no software that monitors the maintenance of our sewer services. Mr. Tyson implemented a program, I believe that was October 1st. We met with the ESU Sewer Service Department. We went old school. Got them back to pen and paper and having them doing reporting that way. So if you want to go ahead and talk about the sewer services, the amount that we had allocated for that computer software was approximately $350,000, but I'm going to let Mr. Tyson talk about how we can do that and tie into Carmen's and different things.
Okay. Like you said, I've brought before, I know I've been before ESU board before too to speak about this. We started, or the city did start some time back, and I don't want to talk about spoiled milk or anything, but we went into a software program that never came to fruition, so we don't have one at all. As the mayor stated, when I took over running ESU, they weren't even keeping records really of any of the maintenance that's being done anywhere throughout the city on lift stations or anything like that. So I did meet with them. I did give them work orders that they have to fill out every day, and they are doing that. It is working. So now we have an idea. If they work on Stone Street lift station and the next guy has to go there, they know what was done before, and they have an idea what's going on. That's still back in the dark ages. What we need to do is we need to implement a software program to where you actually are tracking every bit of work that's done on any part of our infrastructure and our sewer system. The software that I'm looking at and would like to go with is a software that we implemented over at Karma when I first took over there working. It is up and running right now, and it's working fantastic. There's been other engineering firms that have come in from Strand Engineering, to be exact, they're working on doing our master program now for plant expansion, and they can't believe how detailed our software is and how much we've inventoried what we have and how the work is. So now we know, number one, we know how old the pumps are, when the last time they're serviced, what their life expectancy is, when the oil is supposed to be changed, and it just pops up and does it, and we're able to do that. So this software that we implemented over there, because Kankakee is part of Karma, I've talked to the licensee who did the work for us over there, and we were going to be able to piggyback on top of Karma, and it will save us about $75,000 in licensing fee if we work with them. And that's easy to do. Our CMOM that we're going to have to do, which is our maintenance program for our sewer and how we handle any kind of problems that we have there, it's all tied to Karma. So that's why we're able to do this without any problem. What this program will do, that they'll come in and they actually sit down, not only with staff like with Zach and Claire and all those, they'll actually sit down with the operators that are working there to find out what they need in their hands to be able to identify problems, program the actual pumps and everything we have, and be able to put this on a software. And then what our intent is, when the software is done, Basically, every O&M manager will have an iPad, and that's what they take with them when they go to a job. So when they're working on it, they'll type in exactly what repairs they did, what maintenance was done on these programs, or on the equipment. It goes right into our computer. The asset management program then spits out, we know what's been done to everything. A prime example how this, I think, would save us money is we have pump number 1 at Stone Street has gone down, which you're aware that we're going to have to do some work on it. I strongly believe if we had a program of this in place, we would not be replacing that pump right now. We'd probably be doing maintenance on it, but we would not be replacing it. So this way, we know what's going to go on. You know, we've got 13 lift stations in the city of Kankakee. I've got 13 lift stations out there right now that probably 10 of them have pumps in them that are probably 10 to 20 years old. Those things all go out at one time. You're looking at $1 million in pumps at one shot. So I want to try to get this department up running, or whoever my successor is, so that you have this thing going and to where we know what's going on in all of our assets and we can keep a maintenance program on it. The cost for doing this, we had $350,000 allocated because I think I can save $75,000 just in fees. It's come back that the person from it's called VISA 2 that does the work, but he has estimated it's going to be between $275,000 and $300,000. So we'd be looking basically for a budget of $300,000 to work with to get this software implemented. It took us over at Karma, to give you an example, it took us 6 months from the time we started till the time this thing's up and running. Dustin Shepler over there is willing to work with Zach and help him as far as teaching him and working with them. And it's a program that I think we really need to do if we're going to really try to get us back into the 21st century. And I'll answer any questions anybody has.
This is where I'll go back to, we talked about taking care of ourselves first. This is one of those, there's several items here, but this is one of the start of them here.
How long do you think it'll take us to get up? Are we looking at that 6 months?
I guess it'd be 6 to 9 months. It depends how much detail. We're a lot more spread out than what Karma is, obviously, so it's going to take a little bit more field time with all the different lift stations and everything else.
So as Mr. Tyson had talked about, we think we can get it done cheaper than $350. My opinion is, to be safe, if we allocated $350 towards it, obviously if we don't spend that, we can put that money back into the ARP, but that's the direction we're looking at going, and that would be a long-term solution for our sewer services. It's kind of like Stone Street, that we're allocating Stone Street repairs through capital, through ESU, and some of it was done through the ARPA money, but you know, if Stone Street ever was to go down, it'd make a tornado look easy probably in our city, because it's our main, it handles about 70% of our sewer services, and there's just, as Mr. Tyson said, we've got a lot of aging lift stations and everything else, so we just need to figure out where we're at and keep it going forward. Plus, it helps with when we have people changing over jobs or positions, or they know what the person did before, if somebody's on vacation, they can follow up with it.
It's also safety, too. It's safety for our employees that are working there. They know what they're walking into before they walk into it. So,
Alderman Crawford.
Do we need to make a motion since we've already allocated the
We have not allocated the money towards it, no. Well, I'm looking to allocate money towards software, purchase of software, looking to allocate money towards the purchase of software to take to City Council. That's the first of 2 software programs. Alderman Brown.
I would like to make that motion that we allocate the $350,000 we get for the technology.
computer software.
In the,
I'll second that, Mayor.
So we have a motion from Alderman Brown and a second from Alderman Osinga to allocate $350,000 to City Council approval for sewer services software.
And this is coming out of ARPA money?
This would be out of ARPA money, correct. Is there any questions or comments? We'll do roll call. Alderman Osinga.
Aye.
Alderman Crawford.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Barron.
Aye.
Alderman Brown.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Alderman Navarez.
Aye.
Alderman Marzak.
Aye.
Okay, 8-0. We will push down to City Council. Second is the second set of software, and I'm going to let Barbie talk a little bit about this. to catch her off guard, sorry. She's put together an RFP that is going around to a lot of different department heads. Really, this has kind of started with, I'll call it code, was where it came from me. She's tied this into not only code, but through her department, because they deal a lot with the, the lead-based windows, their single-family rehab, different things. Also, getting other departments, adjudication and everybody else. But we're looking to allocate some money towards what I call bringing us into, as we talk, into technology, where ultimately what I would hope, and this is where I'd come to everyone here, this would all interact with all the departments here, but as aldermen and alderwomen, you would hopefully get an iPad. You wouldn't be able to make changes or anything, but here's how I've always sat there and said is you may want to look up and somebody always gives you a question about code. Has there been a ticket issued to the house that looks like whatever? And then you call code and you get back and forth. You'd be able to pull up, type in 945 South Wildwood, look on there, nothing's been done. Okay, I need to get a hold of code and what's going on. Or ticket was issued last Friday, or 10 tickets have been issued, they just don't pay them and they don't do anything and it's going to adjudication. This would help you with your communications to the residents within about a 3-minute period. You wouldn't be able to change anything on there, but you'd be able to see statuses of things happening. We're also hoping with things like police and fire, they might be able to pull up on there and, they've got this already, but it'll even help with, okay, we've got a 3-unit building here, only one's occupied technically through the rental license, but, it gives them an idea what's going into, or the police or different things. And then it would just, again, the other goal is when I go back to code, it's keeping the code officers out on the road instead of going back and forth. And when they do it, they can take a picture of it, it's uploaded, they can email it to DPW, says the grass gets cut, stay in the car, don't have to go back to the office, be typing stuff back in. So, but it ties in, I'll let Barbie talks about the RP that you've kind of put together, how it ties in with a lot of other different departments. And I'll let you, if you don't mind, what are you thinking we need to allocate for this? Because I shot much higher and you said I was nuts, so I'll let you talk.
First of all, you did a great job. I didn't need to say anything. Originally when we were looking at this, we were looking at like 1-year licensing and a cloud-based service that you would have like a year licensing, and so it was a much lower amount. But if we actually grab the software, the training that will need to happen, all of that, you're looking at similarly what's going on with ESU software too. You're going to be looking at that dollar amount. If we do find a cloud-based service, there's going to be different payment methods where it could be $100,000 for that 1 year. But if you sign a 3-year agreement, then you have a savings and things like that. But because we're looking for that onboarding and the training from the company, which we learned through, bringing on board Paycor, if you don't have the right training, it takes a lot longer for people to start using the system and getting used to it. And since this will be cross-departmental, that training is probably going to be, it'll probably be a good year. So I think you're looking at like $300,000, $400,000 for that software to bring it online, to train, and then also to have it for a couple of years in that licensing package. So. We also added a lot from scope of services from all the departments across city so that, things that we all spend 5-10 minutes multiple times throughout a day just tracking down communication, so-and-so called in a resident, talked to one person in one department, and then, talked to somebody else in a different department. What we asked in this system was that there would be call notes so that when you are talking on the phone, you can put those notes in there. And so when you look up a property, you can see call notes from what's going on with that project or that property, and things that just kind of take up a bunch of time during the day that you don't realize are gone because you're tracking down who said what and when they said it. Knowing where a case is in adjudication, where they're at in that process, being able to have different user features in there so that you guys could access it, but I would probably access it differently than you would. So there's a lot of features that we requested in this RFP. So when we send it out, we'll be able to get a bunch of different type of companies to come in here. Also, there's probably customizable features that may cost some money too, and so we need to be prepared for that. So I think originally when we were just talking about like a 1-year allocation or a licensing fee, I think we need to be prepared for what you were saying is just, it's probably going to be bigger than that.
And even looking at, we talked about even potentially being able to do vehicle sticker.
Yeah, so we included things from the clerk's office so that they could accept payment online, so that residents could just go online, and be able to renew and pay for things. So we included that in there as well. Also, the PCI compliance training that you'll need when you start taking online payment. So we included all of that in this RFP so that we could be able to see how we can maximize one software to kind of unify all the city departments.
The difference here is we don't have a software identified. We're going to go out and ask people to make pitches to us to fit the needs that we're looking for. But if we can get some online payments happening and some different things, it would be tremendous also. But this will be a work in progress, but I don't think this will move as quickly as sewer services because that's very identified, but the goal is to wake up hopefully in 2 years and we're very seamless and quite frankly I know when I was an alderman, I'd have killed for this information on the spot all the time. You're always at the park or neighborhood meeting and somebody says, boy, I can't, tell me what's happening with the house up the block and I'll get back to you Monday. You know, if you could do that right then from your tablet or something, that'd be huge, I think. There was questions. Alderman Brown.
Thank you. You know that this was Alderman Tall's pet peeve. You know that, right?
I remember working.
This was his pet peeve. And he might have some reference. We did a lot of research in trying to get software that we just talked about now.
We had 5 years ago, we had a proposal. I called up in the Mad Men room up at Space Center.
Tyler Technologies or Tyson Technologies, I don't remember what.
Yeah, but we had a lot of that in there. And
yeah, he gave it to me.
Yeah, so
we used it to create the
so
RFP.
I think, if you call, he still got to know that. I know he probably do. So, it doesn't hurt to start there because we did have the same proposal. Everything we're talking about now is the same thing we had a discussion about years ago, and now it's come back around. So I think that might be a beginning point right there.
we even talked about, we got to keep this self-sustained. We talked about even with code violators, that putting on, it was a technology fee was what it was to be called, $2.50 for each ticket. That with the amount of code tickets that we have, hopefully code tickets will go down with this software and stuff over time, but it could generate enough money to keep the annual basis going for the licensing and stuff going forward. So I would imagine that this would get us purchased and going, but then we'd still implement something like that to keep it ongoing. Alderman Elsinga.
Alderman Brown actually took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing about Alderman Tall. He advocated for this for 4 years, and he was a pretty sharp techie guy. And so, one question I do have, I think we want to look at down the road, we're going to do sewer service, we're going to do city communications. I guess budgeting down the road, we're going to have keep a plan here, a thought of how we're going to maintain this, because I'm sure at some time we're going to have maintenance fees, repair fees, and those kind of things. And maybe, when we do our budgeting in the future, that's something we want to look at. I'm all in favor of this. I think this is a great idea.
That's where I think if we implement a technology fee, it sounds minor, but that amount can generate $40,000 to $50,000 a year at just $2.50 a ticket.
And that was one of Tyler's things that he had. I had some notes from that I looked at before I came here, and he had 2 different companies. One was 80 grand and one was 120 grand. But that was 5 years ago too, so a lot of that's going on.
One of the things I think is interesting, I know when I drive around town once in a while, I'll see something, and I can think of one particular house in the 5th Ward, and I always ask myself, I wonder if code's been here. And it would be so nice to be able to get on an iPad and say, yeah, they've been here and they've written 2 tickets for the violation that I see on a regular basis. So I think that would be a wonderful program, and I'm 100% behind this.
Even constituents just having that ability right when we're talking.
Go ahead, Alderman Brown. Yes.
The other thing here too, what we forget is that every department has to pay some code, and have to put some money in, adjudication, all the department that links to this also has to put some money in too. So it's not going to be out of just one lump of money, I don't think. I think it's going to come out of multiple department money, budgets. That's what I think.
Yeah, but to start, it would come out of the ARP money to get this off and rolling.
Absolutely.
So
that's why I think we can maintain it.
So at this point, I'm looking, I'm going to use the same number as sewer services. I'm looking for a motion of $350,000 for the citywide communications program software.
I'll make that motion, Mayor. We actually have $350,000 for computer software for city communications.
Okay, I heard a first from Alderman Osinga, I heard a second from Alderman Navarez.
Yes, sir.
Any questions or comments? Roll call. Alderman Osinga.
Aye.
Alderman Crawford.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Barron.
Aye.
Alderman Brown.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Alderman Navarez.
Aye.
And Alderman Marzak.
Aye.
Okay, we will pass that on to City Council for approval also. Next, we have funding for Kankakee United and how it ties into the Strong Neighborhood House. That COVID kind of kicked that in the teeth a little bit as it came out strong, and then COVID kind of put a damper on everything in 2020, and kind of not much was happening through 2021. One of the things that I do agree with is Mayor Wells Armstrong, she did start this program. It is a good program, and I want to keep it going, but it does need some funding. In particular, there's a meeting tomorrow. They're looking for potentially getting a director that would help with navigating in the community, running the house, some different things of that. It needs, right now, there's no funding for the program at this point. I know Alderman Barron, I think you had some questions or comment or some thoughts on this, if you want to go ahead and speak on it, or if not, no problem. But I would like to allocate some funds towards Kankakee United and allow them to continue the mission work that they're trying to get done here. I talked to Alderman Marzak a little bit about it and just what everybody's thoughts are here. But I don't know that I have an allocated amount here. I don't think it has to be huge to start with. But, you know, if I had to pick a number right now, if we could allocate somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000, I think that would go a long way to begin with. I don't know that's enough over a 3-year period, but it does need somebody to have some guidance to run that program. Alderman Barron.
I think it needs to be quite a bit more than that, honestly.
Okay.
That number, I don't know if you could get an executive director for full-time, in addition to allocation to do some of the programs that he or she would want to do. Are you talking about Strong Neighborhoods, or are you talking about Kankakee United, or both?
One and the same. Yeah, I mean, we're the Strong Neighborhoods program, basically. We're running it through Kankakee United. I mean, Kankakee United is, I guess, how do you want to say it? It's right now, Kankakee United is the Strong Neighborhoods House, is what it is.
The one on the river, correct?
Elm River. But there's no, I mean, we've been trying to run all initiatives out of there, is what we've been trying to do with Kankakee United. The group itself, they've been talking about not necessarily a full-time director, but a part-time director. But
I mean, this is one of the few community policing initiatives that I think is really got some steam and some legs behind it. We don't have the full-time community policing officer anymore. I mean, this could be that.
Yeah.
This could be somebody that works very closely with the police department, not just on their own initiatives, but in making sure that our department espouses community policing priorities. Kankakee United specifically has looked at gun violence among African American men, and specifically African American boys, men under 25, as being really the endemic, the pandemic that we're seeing. And there are a number of programs that cost money to put people in place to do this. So, you know, Alderman O'Brien mentioned last meeting potentially $1 million for this program. You know, I think to do this right, it's got to be somewhere closer along those lines. You know, we can talk about that's the full amount, but you know, I would think at least $250,000 a year, which should be put towards this program. And especially if it's both, we're talking about Strong Neighborhoods and Kankakee United. Those are, I had not articulated those as together. So that would be an additional reason to potentially allocate more there.
Alderman Martek?
With the violence in the community, with the shootings and stuff, I really didn't know much about the Kankakee United, but it falls in line with a book that I gave a few of you. The others are in shipping, so everybody will get one. But it's basically a task force that you form, and it's a group violence reduction strategy. So if that goes along, you know, with this, and you know, the Kankakee United, that's part of it, you know, I know people are yelping about the cameras online when I mention cameras. You know, we can catch the offender, you know, with the cameras, but we need to do something that is actually going to, you know, get to the kids that are we need to target the group that are going to be the future shooters in 5 or 10 years. And I mean, there's a strategy in the book, it's proven. If we can implement something like that and, you know, work with the school district as well as, you know, the state's attorney, we need to do something different along the lines with these kids that are, you know, starting to get into a bad area of their life. So if that's what we're talking about, I'm all for putting some money there, but we need dedicated people, you know, people in that ward, you know, the second ward over there. There's problems. You know, you need somebody, a community leader from that ward. We need, you know, the police. We need the mayor. We need. If you're going to do that Kankakee United, and that's what it's about, then I'm all for putting some serious money in it. But that's to reduce the, you know, future violent youth.
Alderman Crawford.
When we started this house, didn't we have other partners that were involved in there too? And I believe United Way was one.
So there was 3 partners, but we don't have the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, completed at the time, but it was United Way of Kankakee County and School District 111, and in the City of Kankakee. Currently, the city, right now, as it stands, the City of Kankakee has, correct me if I'm wrong, Barbie, but we own the property, take care of the maintenance, take care of the utilities, take care of it. United Way of Kankakee is trying to organize some events there right now, and I've got a meeting with the school district to talk about, the last meeting I had with them is them getting back involved and partnering with us, and they're open to that as long as we have a plan in place that makes some sense. So.
Well, I think we need to get that plan in place, and we need to get all the partners acting together on this.
I would like to.
We could definitely be the leader of it, but we need to have them involved with us too.
I'd like to get some more aldermen involved right now. It's just, I'll be honest, it's kind of been taken and trying to run with it. Right now it's been Aaron Clark, Dr. Deb Barron, Rhonda Curry, Chief Passwater, myself, and David. It's kind of been the group that's kind of been doing it, but it's been a lot for just those 5-6 people to get things off the ground.
So,
Alderman Jones.
So we want the director, we need the director, he's going to work directly with Kankakee City or who?
That's where we need to get that organization back together. So basically, there was a group of people before that were involved. Basically, it was 3, correct me if I'm wrong. Alderman Barron, you may know this better than I do, and I apologize, but it was Dr. Deb Barron, Mayor Wells Armstrong, I believe Lynn Williams, Jasmine Humble. I don't know if I'm missing anyone else at this point, but I'm going to call that was kind of the core 4 group. And
there was a leadership team that existed that's gone in and out of a number of people, but probably about 6 people.
Yeah.
That have been core members. I mean, everybody's doing a volunteer.
Yeah.
Nobody was dedicated to this.
And I'd like to see some aldermen be part of that team. I think it would be good, because I think they need to put some insight into it. If, you know, again, it's more work and more volunteer time, but I think it would be good.
So you're saying you need to develop what an executive director would do?
The group, a job description is put together for that executive director, but realizing that somebody needs to be dealing with that at least 20 hours a week, if not more. As Alderman Barron said, he'd like to see it be full-time, but the group said even if it was just able to start 20 hours a week would be better than nothing. But also finding that it's a very almost specialized position. You know, quite frankly, if I was right there, I would not be the person qualified for that. It needs to be somebody that can relate with the young youth, probably maybe has experienced a lot of the I'll call it the trauma, the incidences, things that can speak one-on-one, one-on-3 with real-life experiences to a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old. So it's a very difficult person to find for that job and position, but it's needed. I'd say most of us probably don't have that expertise to fill that position right now, but the expertise is somebody that can relate and talk candidly. I've been there, I've done it, I've experienced it. This is why you shouldn't go down this path.
Yes, ma'am. One thing, that's what I was going to say, we're ready to throw the money in, and, so we want to put a couple $100,000 a year. What are we going to do with a couple $100,000? That's what I'm asking. Like, okay, if we're going to spend $200,000 a year, what is that going to look like year 1, year 2, year 3? That's all I'm asking. So we don't have the director of what's going to be this and that. I don't mind the money, but what are we doing for?
And I guess that's maybe why I shot with the low number, Alderman Barron, because I was trying to figure, okay, let's allocate some money for it and figure out how we get this thing up and rolling in year 1 here. I'm all for more money for it, but we've got to put together the plan with it. I think if the next, Kankakee Unite meeting, if I went to them and said that we had some of the numbers you're talking about, I think they'd be elated and go, okay, now we can make a difference. I don't think they were thinking that much would be coming in either.
Would these people be employees of the city? Is that what we envisioned if we hired them? Would that be a separate entity?
It's a great question. I don't know that answer. I don't know.
I guess it doesn't matter. To me, I think this is part of the approach, as Alderman Marzak mentioned, to combating or supporting public safety. We have sort of the immediate term where we're dealing with cameras and trying to prevent shootings and activity today. And this is, in my opinion, community building and activities that will pay dividends in the long term. This is
the long-term solution.
Yes, exactly. So I think it's probably just as, if not more important than addressing the things that are happening today. So I think we need to make a commitment to use this money for the full term available through the ARPA period, which I believe is 4 years through 2025, and give the appropriate resources to the program. But I think it's also important to have, what's that money going to go? Is it all people? Is it programming? And I like the idea of full-time people because I think it's, what the people you're describing, if they're really good, they're not going to want to work 20 hours a week for part-time pay. I think we really need to kind of throw down the marker and say, here's some good people who are really good at this work that's really hard work and can help make a difference in our community for a long, long time. So all that said, I don't know what that dollar amount is. I think it's closer to $1 million than $100,000. But it would be helpful if the Kankakee United could give.
Do we want to come back with a proposal from Kankakee United?
I think that'd be helpful.
Okay.
For like a 4-year period,
Well,
in my opinion.
like I said, we have a meeting this week, and quite frankly, if anybody wants to attend it, they're more than welcome. And we could, but I think that's if we go and say, maybe it's next week.
And while you're looking, I think the other thing is that I initially didn't realize the connection between Kankakee United and Strong Neighborhood, so I think if we clarify that as well, that would be helpful.
Actually, it's Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
Mayor, with respect to the Strong Neighborhoods program, that my understanding of that house is not specific and solely for public safety, that it's other.
It's supposed to be for everything. It's supposed to be
right
for events. I mean, I would like to see, my goal is we've been trying to have some meetings there, just there's no activity happening there. I've sat there and said, let's have our meetings there instead of other places, just so we got activity going on in there. I mean, I think it should be, somebody wants to have a birthday party there instead of at their own home. The kids can have a party there on a Saturday afternoon. It should be events. It should be meetings. It should be where the second ward can meet. It's cold out. You don't want to meet in a park. You meet at that house. We did change the lock on it to make it easy so that a code can be provided for anyone to access and get in and easy out. You know, I don't think it should be limited to 3 or 4 people being get access to it. It should be 50 people that get access to it. Different organizations could meet there. They're just, I agree, it's not just pure public safety. It's supposed to be to help the in my opinion, I always thought it was supposed to be to help the neighborhood.
I think that was my concern about grouping them together.
Yeah.
That they could be, different processes, different programs, different people.
It just, that seemed like that's a house that we control, that we can start with and grow from there, But, yeah, it can be, obviously Kankakee United's citywide, but that's kind of a place we could start as almost like a home base, if that makes sense. I didn't anticipate that director maybe working out of that house or something, Do you want us to come back with our, what I can do is we can have that meeting Wednesday and say to City Council, all I'm hearing from City Council is they're looking to allocate funds towards it, but tell them they're looking to allocate some significant funds for it. How do we envision that working out?
I do think there was a proposal submitted that has a dollar figure associated with it, but that could be built upon, I believe.
For Kankakee United or for a different?
For Kankakee United. That
Okay.
was initially, I think that's in the binder
Okay.
David provided. So there might be something there, but I think we could, I don't know if that went specifically to programs as much as the executive director.
Okay, so we will come back with a proposal for that then. Okay. Next on the item is funding for Francine Drive improvements. I did meet with, I've got Neil Pigish is here. This is, we met with Alderman Jones and Alderman Brown 2 weeks ago. Time seems to be flying already. This is a project that has been in their works or been wanting to be in their works in the 7th Ward for a long time. It deals with their flooding, storm sewer, a lot of issues over there. But there's some significant dollars allocated to it. This has been ongoing for many years. I'm just trying to pull it up here. I'm going to have Neil kind of go over it. The problem we have is we believe a lot of this because of it's tied into sewer. It could be eligible for ARP funds, but if you just did this with MFT funds, it'll be years before Francine Drive project could ever really happen. So the thought was let's bring this before the ARP committee and look at fixing that problem over there with the flooding issues and the sewer systems over there. So I'm going to let Neil kind of just talk briefly about it, if you don't mind. Basically, all in, it's about it could be done in 3 phases, but as we reviewed all the drawings and everything, quite frankly, doing it in 3 phases is cumbersome, probably not even effective is part of the problem. You almost need to do it all at one time to make it effective. What you've got over there, you've got a lot of, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, there's hardly any storm sewers, so
There's no
there's
storm
none.
sewer.
Basically, the water just sits in the street. There's nowhere for it to go to. And Alderman Brown, if you were Alderman Jones, if you want to talk about what you've dealt with for many years now.
Well, first of all, I'll start it off. I'll make it short because I know it's late. But this is the over 20-year problem. What we did is we always asked to have this done. In the last couple of years, instead of having it done, we thought we could just do it in phases and stuff. And we asked to hold our street MFP funds in order to do the survey and see if we could do it in phases. Then we discovered we didn't have nothing that we thought we had. We had no drainage or no nothing. So it become expensive, and thank God for the ARP money. Because now we can get it done. The drawings are done. Everything is completed. So, I mean, everything, we can go to work on this immediately, I think, but I'll leave that up to Neil. But this is something that's totally needed in that area. It will solve a lot of problems about flooding and deterioration of streets, and we don't have to just get those people that got those cement things on the street that kind of tape under where they, where the blocks, they do more harm than good. We can get all that stuff out of the way, and thank God, I mean, the people there deserve that after 20-some years.
So I'll let Neil talk about it, but basically the overall cost on this is about $1.3 million all in. However, there is some water work that would need to be done over there that we're hoping that maybe Aqua would take care of that, which could eliminate about $150,000 of cost. So we're thinking somewhere in the range of about $1.15 million all in. As Alderman Brown did say, 2 years ago, they held back some of their MFT money, trying to start to build up a stock reserve to get this project done. But At that pace, it could take another 10 to 20 years before they could ever, and their roads wouldn't get fixed at all. So, Neil, if you want to just kind of talk a little bit about it quickly, or?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, as Alderman Brown stated, we started talking about this project about maybe 3 years ago. Alderman Brown and Tedder both had expressed a desire to really address some of the issues over there. What's come to happen over the years is there is no storm sewer over there. There are hardly any depressions in the curb for the driveways, so people have put 4-inch PVC pipes in the curb line, paved over them. That has exacerbated the drainage issues in the curb and created more freezing and thawing, and just basically created a situation where the edge of the pavement and the curb is completely deteriorated to a point where it's not salvageable. So when we started moving forward with the design, we discovered there was no storm sewer over there. So we had basically have a drainage project on our hands. On top of that, most of the sidewalks are right off the back of curbs. So in order to replace the curbs, we have to replace the sidewalks. So it just kind of turns into this project that grew into something bigger than what we were hoping to do. But honestly, these are probably some of the worst streets in the city, where the pavement is completely blowing apart. The sidewalks are not traversable. And the curbs and most of the driveways are the same. So we've got the plans to a point where they're basically about approved from IDOT. IDOT won't approve them unless we have a letting date established. We didn't have that, so we kind of stopped. We addressed all their comments, and then we just kind of stopped with the project. If the city were to fund this, then we would be shovel ready, but IDOT won't officially approve the plan until we establish like a letting date, when we would go out to bid. Since that wasn't identified because we didn't have funding at the time, we kind of put pause on the project. But so that's kind of a summary of the project. It's storm sewer, curb removal and replacement, sidewalk removal and replacement, milling and overlaying of the entire roadway. So.
Alderman Marzak.
Just a question.
This isn't something that would be falling under the new federal infrastructure program this big.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the feds know what is going to fall under the federal infrastructure bill yet. I know we've gotten some details about it, but as Barbie said earlier, I think a lot of the existing grant programs and state agencies that have grant programs are probably going to be utilized to expend some of that money, since all that infrastructure is in place to accept project applications. That's a possibility. I don't know if it's a certainty, but I guess I can't really answer the question until we get more detail on the bill from the feds. So
I guess that'd be my concern, that we spend this money and we find out, a year from now that we could have got it from the feds.
Well, this money is from the feds, but it's all coming from the feds, I guess. But no, I understand what you're saying, though. Yeah, I can't answer that question at this time, unfortunately.
I just wanted to say one thing. That's why my math was so low, because I want to make sure that the constituents of the 7th Ward hopefully get this done. It's a mess. If you ever come over there when there's some good rain, you'll see it. And it's a safety hazard. And I just want to echo Alderman Brown that it is something that hopefully we can get done. And give us a promise us that we got to get that done by before the fall, next fall. We should be done before next fall.
Well, it would depend when, if and when money was allocated towards it, when we went out to bid. If it would be a one construction season project is my answer, though.
Alderman Crawford.
I agree, it is terrible over there. I've driven over there, I've seen it. It probably is some of the worst roads in the city of Kankakee. So I don't have a problem with this, but where I do have a problem is we have an incident in our ward that's been going on for 20 years too. So when that federal money comes, we're going to be in line for it. From Curtis Avenue all the way down to Rosemont, we we get an inch of rain, every one of them houses have water in them. You can drive by and you'll see 4 8-inch tiles coming out of people's basement and going into the street. And basically what the problem is there's a sewer line and a drainage line that runs behind Callista and in Gracefield, and it goes all the way out across the road and into Kennedy's grade school, Kennedy Upper Grade Center there. That tile goes all the way in there and it's all busted up. So whenever it rains, you see a big pond out in Kennedy Grade School, it's in every one of their neighborhoods. And there's probably 40 houses there that get water in the basement every time it rains. They did do a little bit of work. Pete wouldn't acknowledge there was a problem there. And we had Public Works and some other people go out there, and they did take one of the tiles and reroute them last year because it was sinking into St. Martin's property, and they had to fix the sinkhole, so they did fix that portion. But when this federal money comes, we need to take care of that Gracefield area also.
But see, I'm gonna say this. I mean, we knew we had a problem, we couldn't do it all. So we started out by holding MST money until we thought we could solve it that way. And whatever your problem, I think you just need to start and look at it, see what the cost is, so when that money comes, you got a plan in place to fix that. Because I think right now, if we had waited until this money came, then we would be sitting here wondering, could we get it done?
Sure.
The plan is done. We know what it's going to cost, and we have done all that. And that's what you need to do. Like everybody right now, is that what you need to, especially if you think that if infrastructure money is going to come from the state. I think that you have to start doing it. Because if you don't know the cost, because I had no idea it would be this amount of money. That, you know, I thought we could do it at the, you know how much.
Yeah, ours is about 2 million.
Okay. I make a motion we approve it. I don't know if that's legal.
Well, and part of this, we've also got to go through and see what we can allocate from the ARP and everything on towards this, and if there has to be some things broken out or whatever too, but we wanted to at least bring it to the committee and try to get much of it as we could. Some of it's
1.3 million less, whatever has already been set aside from the MFT, is that what we're talking?
$2.50. What did you guys put away, 25,000, Carl?
No, it was,
I think it was 80.
I was going to say, it was
I think they held back 80 from their $100,000 allotment one year, so.
Good. Good for you guys.
well, we have a motion from Alderman Brown and a second from Alderman Jones to allocate dollars for the improvements of Francine Drive in the amount of 1.3 million. There's some things that we need to research and look into there that we could back out of there, including the aqua part and the MFT part, but that's the motion that's on the floor. So questions and comments. Alderman Osinga.
This 1.2 million is going to be ARP money, ARP money for this project? I'm confused here.
Yes.
The whole 1.2 million?
If it's eligible, I got to research that. We had
25,000.
Well, like I said, 80,000.
80 and another 150.
So it'd be not to exceed 1.3 less, whatever
Right.
you find out.
So believe me, I mean, if what coming up with that bad out money, I mean, we could bag it out, we're gonna bag it out, we're not asking. But we know that's what the cost is right now. Hope I answered that right this time. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, so all I gotta say is I'm all for the city of Kankakee taking care of the city of Kankakee with our money first before we start handing it out everywhere else. We got a lot of major issues.
Then we better start allocating the money for public safety before we spend the rest, because it's going quick.
there's going to be more money coming that our citizens are going to be dealing with in infrastructure too, that we have to give them a call on.
Regarding the hydro plant?
Right.
We're working on that, yes. That's why we haven't allocated money for the hydro plant. In fact, I just got the numbers today. Zach got back to me. He was on vacation last week for the holidays, but he needed some information, and he's got all the information for cost. He needs some additional information about past usage of that, and we're getting that to him, but that'll take till probably spring before we understand there. Be quite frankly, if something doesn't happen there, we'll have to look at alternatives for the hydro plant, because that's a big deal. Alderman Osinga.
I understand this is a serious problem, and I'm sure all the other wards, as we sit here and talk about this, you know, there's plenty of other places people can spend money in their ward, and I have a problem spending $1.2 million in one ward.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call. Alderman Osinga.
No.
Alderman Crawford.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Barron.
Abstain.
Alderman Brown.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Alderman Navarez.
Aye.
Alderman Marzak.
Aye.
Six ayes, one no, one abstain, to forward on to City Council for approval, and we'll try to get some more additional information on it before we take it to council, so. Okay. Barbie, funding for moderate income housing rehab program. You want to talk about that?
We've talked about this in the Community Development Committee meeting, and this is utilizing ARP funds to do a housing rehab program that just removes the income eligibility from the low to moderate income, and then focuses on the classification from the census of the 30% of our residents that just don't, they're right at the threshold and they don't meet the requirements for our housing programs. But this is the middle income group in the city of Kankakee that, you know, they're working really hard, but to come up with $10,000 for kitchen rehab is a little bit challenging, but maybe they could contribute $2,000 and the city covers the rest. We had a program like this over a decade ago, and so we have everything that we need to run the program, but we would just like to have some allocations from ARP so that we could actually operate it. So, like I said, I don't have my paperwork in front of me. I don't remember what the suggested allocation was. 200,000 for the year.
Barbie, a decade, a year ago, where did we get this money from? Was it grants? Or?
It was originally started with capital, I believe, in the history of the program, and then we were able to get some grant funding at the time, but HUD has moved all of their funding to low to moderate income, making sure that 70% of the money that gets spent is for the low income residents in the city of Kankakee. So all of our money has actually just been serving low income residents, as we should, but we really do have middle income people that need this help as well. And so ARP is obviously the flexible capital group that we could pull those funds from, and then be able to follow the rules and regulations from the federal government on housing rehab, but then just eliminating the low income and focusing on the moderate income.
Barbie, I don't have it. I apologize.
I think it's $200,000 for 1 year.
Are there any questions or comments for Barbie? Alderman Crawford.
I got a question. I don't know if you know this answer, but do we have any idea where we're at and how much we've allocated so far?
Well, I'm doing it for you right now. You give me 30 seconds.
Wake up someday and we're at 16 million. Now we got to go back and tell somebody you ain't getting it.
Right now, as of what we've allocated so far, is 4.1 million. 1.35 million we allocated in September. Tonight, we allocated $750,000 for public service, not-for-profits, $700,000 for software, and then the 1.3 for Francine, minus, not to, I should say, not to exceed, so. At all meetings to date, we haven't spent any, but we've allocated 4.1, plus, I do take that back, we've also allocated 170-some thousand for Stone Street repair.
Mayor, didn't we allocate 1.5 with the initial budget for?
You're correct.
Officer?
And yep, and 650 for ESU, so we do need to add that in
Set
there.
some aside for tax billing.
So that would be 6.2 million has been allocated. 6.2. Thank you, Alderman Barron, that's correct, yeah. If you add in ESU, I did a round number. It's probably a little bit more, and that's like probably the, yeah, about 2.1 if you round it with ESU's allocation. When you brought that up, that's why I was jotting down right now.
Mayor, you had initially had a sheet for us that essentially had what our allocations were, and then there was sort of just silos.
Yes.
Targets. I thought that was pretty helpful. I mean, for us to take a 4-year,
We can update that and email that out to everybody.
because I think we're going to change some of these.
Some of these are going to be moving targets up and down, but I agree.
And that's a way to, you at least have an idea. And we don't need to, those silos don't need to add up to 14.7
No.
million exactly, but that gives us an idea of how close we are to giving, targeting public safety, targeting economic development, targeting community development.
So what I can do is have David allocate that sheet with what we've done so far and email that out to everybody for review. And then we'll include that at every meeting going forward, because I think we're at a stage now where we need to be seeing how those numbers float up and down.
So Mayor, with respect to the modern housing rehab program, I'd like to make a motion that we allocate $200,000, and this would just be for a year. But that's why the number I'm thinking of is just for the 1 year. Let's do the program, see how it goes. If we want to expand it, if it's much desired, then we can do that, but it's part of our silo system then too. So I'll make that motion for $200,000 for the program.
So a motion from Alderman Barron to allocate $200,000 for 1 year for the moderate income housing rehab program. Second from Alderman O'Brien. Questions or comments? And this has been talked about in CDA quite a bit, I think, correct? Go ahead, Alderman Crawford.
Did you say this was for 1 year?
200,000 for 1 year.
If it doesn't get spent, we can...
The money will not, so right now, the way it's set up right now is, I think she's going to be reporting this in your budget meetings going forward, but basically, we have received, I'll call it 50% of the money so far, so I don't have the exact number, but I'm basically going to call it, we've got about a little over, about 7.2 million and some change that we've received in our coffers at this point. That money has not been touched, nothing has been allocated or paid to anything. As we do that, we will keep a running total of how that allocates down when we draw it out of the account. So this 200,000 wouldn't draw out of there, it would only draw out of there as programs are happening. Correct, Barbie, am I saying that correctly? So if 200,000 is allocated it and Barbie's department says we need to reimburse or draw down on that ARP money in the amount of $65,000, we draw down on that. Basically, it's like transferring from your savings account to your checking account in your household, but then we'd report that to City Council. So if we don't get to that point, it wouldn't be moved out of the ARP funds. So there's almost two forms of what we've allocated for ARP and what's actually been moved out of there that we need to be presenting to you. Alderman Crawford.
Thank you. When this program gets set up, will council members be able to get a list of what the qualifications are for a modern family to qualify? So all of a sudden, you don't have people there that's wasting your time and us wasting people's time sending them there because they're overqualified or something.
Yeah, of course. And we'll have to have a resolution from council passed to start the program anyway. So you'll see all of those eligibility and the policies and procedures at that time too. So.
I got your text.
Okay, any other questions? Roll call. Alderman Osinga.
Aye.
Alderman Crawford.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Barron. Alderman Brown. Alderman Jones. Alderman Navarez. Alderman Marzak.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays. We'll bring that to City Council, so. Real quick before I come to Alderman Marzak. Is it okay if this is all brought to City Council on December 19th? Is it okay if we take 2-3 weeks? I hate to put this all on Alderman Brown on Monday night. I'm trying to make Monday night's meeting is there anything that we got to move quickly on from anybody? The ultimate goal is, as I mentioned it myself, I will not be here Monday night. Barbie will not be here Monday night. So we're going to ask Alderman Brown if he can run the meeting as Mayor Pro Tem, but I kind of want to make it as easy of a meeting for him as possible. December 19th will be a long meeting. We'll have the tax levy. There's a couple of the Planning Commission findings that we have to vote on. I didn't want to put that burden on Alderman Brown either. So we're going to try and, we'll have a very heavy meeting right before Christmas, but it's December 20th? I figured the Sunday would be good for us. We'll start Sunday to finish Monday. But with that, so just giving everyone a heads up, I'm going to try and, we'll probably push this workload off unless Alderman Brown, we'll talk tomorrow unless you want to take on some of this, so. Okay.
We'll talk about tomorrow.
Yep. Okay. Alderman Marzak, you had a question.
I see we have an agenda here with stuff on the agenda, but originally we didn't, when we allocated that money to Barbie, we didn't need it on the agenda because this is ARP. So if that's true, I'd like to make a motion. We allocate $3 million to public safety before we spend it on anything else.
Well, I think the way I set up the agenda, if I had kept the old line item under old business, we probably could, but this is a very detailed agenda. I don't think we can sway from that, I don't think. So unfortunately, I think we can only vote on the new business stuff here. And that's my fault because I had under old business ARP funding, which probably is open-ended. But I think we have to, if anybody wants to, probably what we need to do is going forward, probably if anybody has some ideas how we want to do it. But I don't think we can vote on that tonight by Open Meetings Act.
We need to allocate that.
So that we can talk about that at the December meeting. So.
Yeah, to that end, we have that be a line item on the agenda.
We'll keep a line item on there for
so we can have
ARP
I think it's
funding,
important
yeah.
to set aside a certain amount of money for that purpose. That's the, when you look at the feedback we got from the community, there's overwhelming support for targeting this money for public safety in various ways, and so I think that's part of it. Including what we talked about today with the Kankakee United program and cameras and things like that. So I think that is a good idea.
I envision the December meeting could almost be public safety meeting. We expect to bring back some recommendations from Kankakee United and some different things, and cameras were presented tonight, so that would be the goal. With that, I don't have it on the agenda here, but Chief LaRoche has patiently sat here for several hours. Chief LaRoche, if you want to talk about the workforce development plan and your Cadet Explorer program real quick, and then some costs that you've allocated for this here. Again, we can't act on this tonight, but he did want to hand this out to everybody for review.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was looking at allocating some funds to reinstitute our cadet program, but more importantly, establish a internship program for our youth to get them more involved, to actually prepare them for firefighters. We're looking at funding over a 3-year period. I was looking at maybe about $190,000 for potentially 3 explorers and also 3 interns. Most of that cost comes from the internship program. We planned on having a minimum wage scale for salary for the internship to come in and work up to 28 hours per week, while also paying for their tuition costs for their EMT, paramedic, and also through the fire academy. I only have estimated costs for about 2 to 3 person people, interns, and also 2 to 3 explorers. The cost is pretty moderate. It's not too expensive for the fire academy. The Fire Academy is local, so there's less cost, but we send them to a real academy, it's going to be a little bit more. And then that goes also for the paramedic program. St. Mary's program is about $7,500, Riverside is about $10,000. All said and done, like I said, for a 3-year program, it'd be about $190,000 for three kids. I'm hoping to have more than just 3, but that's just a good guess of what we had in the past.
Good. If we didn't train, are they going to be retained?
Well, that's part of the agreement that they would have to sign. Carolyn Croswell, the HR director, and I have been talking about this for a little bit of time, of how we can institute a paid internship along with establish a criteria of how to keep them, maintain them, the contract they have signed, what work they would be able to do. In such a contract, so we can make sure that they do stay here. The goal is to take our kids from the age of 14 and develop them and get them to work here, and not just get the certifications and leave.
And I agree, that'd be the ideal situation. But if we could also help our youth further their, why we want them to stay in the city of Kankakee, but if we can help a youth have a successful life, that's a win too. I'd rather keep them here, but I also, kind of my opinion is what we can do to help the youth.
It's a win-win for the city and for the kids.
Yeah. So so take a look at this program here.
Just to keep this on the
Yeah, we can't take any action, but
I didn't get to the mayor quick enough this week to put it on the agenda, but it's something I'll put in front of you, so moving forward, we can look at allocating some money to the program.
Thank you. I think the more we can, and I think we probably, I don't know if we can do this with our police department too, but I think the more we can get our kids trained from high school, grade school to high school, and try to get them involved in our community and wanting to be firemen and policemen in our community, it's going to better our community in the long run.
Alderman Barron?
My comment would be, in terms of retention, I think that's a key component of it. I think forgivable loans is the way you do that. I mean, when I went to law school, there's a public service program that if you work in a particular field for 10 years, then you can get your debt repaid. But that way, you can't just have somebody sign a contract agreeing to work for you for 10 years, because nobody's ever going to enforce that. But you can forgive their loans over time, and if they go somewhere else, then they do have to repay them. My only other thought is, as part of that, I'd like to see a residency requirement for a recipient of this type of program. I think that could be worked into a forgivable loan as well.
Yeah, we already have some kids that we're considering already that live in the city that are interested in programs.
Alderman O'Brien?
This is a great idea. I don't know if it's ready for, it seems like public safety will be a focus of the December meeting. If it's ready for them, that might be a good fit.
Yeah, the goal would be to bring this at the December meeting, so.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we've kept everybody here a long time now. This is worse than city council meetings, sorry. but we've accomplished a lot. So is there anything for the good of the order? Barbie.
Thank you. I talked to the mayor this afternoon, but I had a meeting with the social service agencies, and I really just need to share this information with you all. I'm going to try to keep you as informed as possible as things continue to evolve here. So, met today with Catholic Charities, Fortitude, Salvation Army, KCCSI, and myself. They asked me to join them this morning. They wanted to inform me about some of the things that they're experiencing right now due to evictions and the uptick of evictions that are happening. So the supportive services for the homeless veterans program at Catholic Charities is saying that they have 15 homeless veterans with open cases in Kankakee right now, and they are also down one staff person for this program. They had to add an additional agency to help them assist with the cases here. That agency is Midwest Shelter for Veterans. They've been really, really busy with this homeless veterans program. Fortitude is at capacity, serving 18 people right now, and consistently has been for the past couple weeks. They have been turning people away every day for the last week that they cannot help. Salvation Army's program is complementary to Fortitude, so they are also at max capacity because they are assisting those 18 people on the weekends when Fortitude isn't open. So those 18 people are in the hotel, maybe somewhere in the hospital, I don't know. But and then they are turning away people as well with that hotel voucher program because they're serving the max that they can as well. They said Salvation Army staff reported to me today that they have been turning people away for services of 7 people a day, and they've had a couple of times of 8 people during the day that they've had to turn away for services. Agencies are reporting, all of them collectively, that they know that there's at least 40 people currently in need of shelter that are finding their own spaces and places to sleep because they cannot get service with any one of our local agencies to help them with shelter right now. Exasperating this issue is that there are staffing issues at all these agencies, and the programs are at staffing capacity. They are all hiring right now, and of course those salaries, I mean, they're good salaries, but they're also, they're not $50,000 a year, which is the living wage for Kankakee to be able to live in a 2-bedroom apartment here and still have transportation and childcare as a part of your life. So $40,000 for a person who has a master's degree, they're finding jobs elsewhere with a higher salary, and that is part of some of the requirements for these jobs is that they have masters in social work because they have to do case management for these individuals. So they're also looking for staff. They have not been successful. They have waiting lists for eligible programs like rapid rehousing, but again, staffing and monitoring for rapid rehousing is cumbersome and it's time consuming as well. There have been some issues in the past with clients in hotels, so there is a concern of losing hotel support right now for the voucher program for some residents, especially in the emergency situations. Agencies are also reporting that they have gone through funding faster than they thought, and at this kind of winter time, they thought that they would have more funds, and they don't. They have great concern about the funding for the worst of the winter months that we have yet to experience. So I will be staying in touch with them, but I do know KCCSI doesn't have funding for some of their programs. They do have their rental program for COVID relief, but these individuals that are getting evicted right now don't have the COVID hardship necessary for that program. So there's a lot of moving pieces, there's a lot of complexities. There's not a one-stop shop answer for this. There is not. It's going to take a bunch of agencies working together to help with this, and also an opportunity to reach out to our neighbors and ask them to help participate in this as well. If we know we have 40 people that don't have shelter right now, and we're turning people away on average of 7 a day, and we're not at 0-degree temperature yet, we need to find a solution sooner than later. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to keep you up to date with staying in touch with them. We do have some groundwork things moving out of this meeting today, reaching out to some churches, reaching out to other stakeholders to see what resources they may have. But as we move forward, we're going to continue to have this conversation. So I have not reached out to the legal community yet or Prairie State Legal Services, but I do want to reach out to them to get, what's that caseload look like. I do know that there's hundreds of cases for a couple of attorneys, but that's just hearsay in passing conversation. But I don't have the actual factual data from the legal side on what to expect. So I know it's grave news, and ending on it is just troubling, but I want to keep you up to date about this as I learned about it today.
Alderman Jones.
I remember last year, the year before, how different churches open their door to allow people to come in,
Almost like a warming center type?
Thing of that nature. And I don't know the legality of what could happen this year or what have you, with that. Because if the church do it, is it going to be legal in terms of can they be in there overnight or what have you, let them in, because churches get flat. At all these churches, and all the doors are closed, and you got homeless people. But the reality is, based upon what the laws in our city, you just can't have people staying in the church. That's the reality. So what do we do? Other churches, can they be used overnight or can they be used overnight? Because once you put them in there, I remember we had this with the Hurricane Katrina thing, and everybody was saying, let's put them all in the church. Churches aren't built for housing people. But is it okay to overnight stay? I don't know that.
Well, I think fire department would probably say no. Technically, you're supposed to have a sprinkler system.
You have to have certain code requirements prior to having people stay.
For the number of people.
A couple years ago, and I was going on this week, one church had it, next week, you could stay so many nights, so that can't happen pretty much.
Under emergency situations, there's always circumstances where it may be allowed, but if it's a long-term event, then
That's what we have to do. Because I'm listening, but you better than the bad news, but, oh man, it's going to get interesting down the stretch right now, because not only do we have the weather, but we have COVID right with it, what I'm saying, COVID ejection, evictions coming with that. So, it's going to be, the answer is not going to be easy. I get it. We all live here. We all see it. And, I'll let the answer get it. But there's something to think about when we talk about it from that angle. But I guess we're protecting some of the, people that have it. We're in Hoffman, but we had a warm center, and we was in Hoffman. So, cooling and a warm, and they vice versa. So, I don't have the answer, but it's going to be sad, tactically, the emotion that people are going to be out. That's going to be the reality. Of course, we all pay for hotels, but how sustainable is that? I don't have the answer. I'm just talking out right now.
Alderman Marzak, you had a comment or a question?
I think I'd reach out to Larry Enns too. The township building is a great space out there that possibly could be used, obviously not an overnight situation, but a warming center. What's going on with the old jail, the county jail? Is there anything, is that occupied at all?
Right here?
Yes.
Oh, they use that.
No, the one by Harrison and Station.
Yeah, that's utilized. They use that for, federal inmates. Overflow from Cook County, I think, some things, yeah. But I just, thank you, Barbie. She brought that up this afternoon, and I just asked her if she would that's been talked about in this meeting a little bit, that I think Alderman Barron's brought up, that we could have a eviction crisis going into winter, and it's actually happening probably quicker than is even anticipated. You mentioned that people thought it'd be a problem by February, and it's December 1, and it's becoming an issue already. So, and I don't know any of us have the answers.
I just got one last thing. Bill, I just want to tell you, I got a good report from somebody in the first board about KBCC, but I'm also for the 7th board, and everything that was done, everybody's real thankful. They won't even buy the guys and girls donuts. They're so happy. I said, I'll let the engineer know tonight, but they are happy with the work that went on, and I know most of the time we all fussing, but I want to bring that to you, the work that we've had given in the 7th ward. We're excited. I'm happy for what, you got done. And I want to publicly thank you for it. And they want me to tell tonight that they're happy in the first ward. My other alternates, I didn't get to say it, but I'm just talking out of turn. But they was telling me they were happy because
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? Okay.
My chopped liver?